31st, 2019, I'm going to hereby call this special township board meeting to order. Everybody can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Gilamas attended the board meeting last night, so is unable to be here tonight. He had a previous engagement and thought it was Tuesday, as our meetings are usually Tuesday. So, anyways, Clerk Viesha, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Perez?
Here.
Trustee Jones?
Here.
Trustee McKenzie?
Here.
Trustee Barbola?
Here.
Trustee Sweet?
Here.
And our township attorney, Kurt Gasper, is here as well. Okay, so this is a special board meeting that is being held in accordance with section 80-10B of the Illinois Township Code 60 ILCS/80-10B. Said meeting was called by Township Trustees Barbola, McKenzie, and Sweeney. And the purpose of this meeting is a regular meeting, but there was a conflict of time or date for the regular board meeting, so it was moved to this date to try to accommodate. That's why it is a special meeting with our regular agenda. Having said that, I'm going to ask for approval of the minutes of the June 25th, 2019 bill paper.
Approval of the minutes of the, motion to approve the minutes of June 25th, 2019, bill pay-per-view, waive the reading. Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, the issue can call.
Supervisor Perez?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Barbola?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
Okay, I need a motion for approval of the minutes of the June 25th, 2019 board meeting.
Make a motion for approval of the minutes of the June 25th, 2019 board meeting as presented.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Trustee Sweet.
Just a quick, I don't know if we need a point of clarification.
Can you speak up? I'm sorry. This thing, Geisha, how do I turn it off? Why does it go on at certain points? Did you know? Is there any way?
It's the, yes, it's found me. The report.
It is not. Yeah.
I have it there.
Okay, sorry. Can you speak in the microphone? I can't hear anything over here with the air conditioner.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Just a point of order, point of clarification. I don't know if this is necessary, maybe not, but the closed session meetings were approved for content. We did not take a vote, but is that for purposes of transparency and letting people know, the last page 6 or page 7 actually says that we went into closed session. It does not define that we went in for approval of content. If I recall correctly, that's what it was. Should we either revise the meeting minutes to reflect approval of content, or is none of that necessary? I guess I would defer to...
The board can go into closed session to review for content or to also review for whether or not confidentiality needs to remain. So as long as it's clear we went into closed session to review closed session minutes, I don't think there's a concern there. My concern would be if there was a vote on approval of minutes, we'd want to make sure if it was clear if it was for content or to release them to the public. So I don't believe there was any vote on actually approving minutes at the meeting, correct? So then I don't think there's a concern about what, it's clear we went into closed session for the review of closed session minutes.
Yes.
So I think that's all that we would have there. If we were voting on minutes, I would say we'd want to have it very clear what we were voting on.
Okay. Thank you.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Calabona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney?
Yes.
So I will ask for a motion for approval of general assistance expenditures.
I motion to approve the general expenditures, and I don't have the date in front of me here. Okay, motion to approve payroll for pay dates of June 28th, 2019, and July 12th, 2019, and July 26th, 2019, and general assistance checks number 52060 through check number 52116 in the amount of $65,324.54.
Second. I don't think
I
I
don't-
received,
I don't
I don't think I received a copy of
I
that.
didn't either.
They are always under the agenda, they are face down.
Wait, I don't really look at it. Oh, I got it. Got it. I didn't.
No, I don't have it. It's on the outside.
Okay, so look under,
I
it's,
just see some.
you have a, here's a copy.
So this is road and this is general. I just know you guys collect them, so I
Right.
got one.
Well, I didn't know, so it was under, it was like this, so
Yeah.
it might look like scratch.
They are always face down and under the agenda on the table.
I didn't, it wasn't that mine.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Everybody took it, but I don't have it.
Everybody else have it? Everybody have it?
Probably it's
Oh, yes.
have that she made a copy.
It wasn't there. Do you need it?
I don't need it.
What?
I went to
Oh, you did have it?
No, I don't have it, but I just looked at it.
Okay, okay. All right, so, wait, where are, do we have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Oh, good. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Vivian, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Perez?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Calabona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney?
Yes, and I'd like the record to reflect that one change I made to you. Or just addition, please.
What?
Oh, just on a check, just clarification on one of the checks. There was an employee change from one department to another, from general assistance to food pantry, so there was a chargeback, and there was not an annotation, so I just
You want
had an explanation.
This
The
minute or the
explanation.
other minute, because I have in this room.
Oh, just in the other, that's fine. In bill pay? Yes, that's fine with me.
It's okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Motion, I need a motion to approve the road district expenditures. Oh, now can you pass down?
Motion to approve payroll for pay dates of June 28th, 2019, July 12th, 2019, and July 26th, 2019, and road districts checks number 20966 through check number 21,000 in the amount of $104,498.21.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Vivian, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Perez?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Calabona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney?
Yes.
Now, is there a motion for approval of general town fund?
I make a motion to approve the payroll for payroll dates of June 28th, 2019, July 12th, 2019, and July 26th, 2019, and general town fund checks numbers 56971 through check number 57043 in the amount of $365,977.25.
Second.
I'm going to have a motion to amend that. I've been informed there's such a thing as a friendly amendment. But I would seek to amend it to postpone payment of invoice number 57005, which is $4,449, which is for legal fees for Bond Dixon and Associates for the period of time from June 4th, 2019 through June 30th, 2019. 19 until we,
Second.
Call the vote.
Wait, what
Wait,
number?
hang on.
I don't even.
5700.
so first of all, I don't think calling the vote ends a discussion. So now we have three things on the table. I'm going to defer to our attorney, which thing comes first.
Well, so there's a motion to amend, so there will be discussion on the motion to amend, and then there will be a vote on that. And then, depending on how that vote comes out, then there will be a roll call on the actual motion that is before the board right now, or the overall pending motion, main motion.
Got it.
Okay. So, do we want to have discussion, do we have discussion? I'm a little lost
So
here.
you'd have discussion on the motion to amend.
Okay, is there discussion, any discussion on the motion to amend? What my motion was to postpone payment until the next, board meeting.
And why is that requested?
Because I don't think there is any legal authority at the time for this payment, and I want to, we have it on the agenda later on in this meeting. And it's the same reason I said last board meeting.
So are you just asking to postpone it until later on in the meeting?
You can do that.
Can we just postpone this whole vote?
Sure.
That way it's cleaner?
Sure. Till the end of the meeting? Because I think that's the last, that's fine. Okay, can we do that?
Certainly
Okay.
can.
All right, so we'll do that. Okay, now. Oh, wait, we have to vote it.
Well, so the motion to amend can be withdrawn, and the motion to approve can be withdrawn, and then we can just wait.
Okay,
till
let's
later.
double approve everything.
Withdraw.
Withdraw. Double withdraw everything, yes?
And make sure it's an agenda item.
Right, and it will be moved to
Yeah.
being an agenda item after the last agenda item of new business.
We'll just make clear what agenda item we're voting on at the end of the meeting.
Right, we're moving the approval of general town fund expenditures to be under the number 9, new business, last agenda item, before officials' reports of numbers. All right, moving right along. Next order of business is public participation. Do I have anybody who wants to publicly participate? Okay. I don't know who had their hand up first. I'm sorry? Okay. Can you step up?
My name is Nikita.
No, right.
Do you
Come on
mind
up
coming
here.
up so we can hear
It's
you?
okay, I'll speak very loudly.
Okay.
But you cannot be on the.
Right.
We have
okay.
Kenny on tape.
You don't have to be on the video, but
It helps.
I'm short, so you have to. But I'm loud. Anyways, my name is Nikita Kalis. I live in 9476 North Dallas Place for almost 30 years. And I needed some help. Last week I came here, talked to the people in the office there, and I needed some papers. So what they did is they gave me a printout. I went, they sent me to the highway commissioner's office. Anyways, I am here not to complain. I'll just give you some constructive criticism. I think that you should give a better training to your people in the office. That's my comment.
Can you elaborate a little bit? Can you elaborate which
Right
office?
here,
Which office now?
right there. What is it, clerk or whatever? What is your office up there? Yeah, I was here last week, remember? You saw me. Okay.
What were you here for?
I was here, I went also to the Mr. Kashmar's office in what is that, golf, that is the office of the highway commissioner.
what's the actual issue that you were here for?
I just wanted to find out where can I get some copies of the blueprints, really not copies, blueprints of the house, because we're trying to sell it. So I need, I need those copies. So I came here and this is what I got. Got that now. They even didn't know, they even couldn't tell me the way how to go there to the commissioner's office. So I went next door. They gave me the address or the proper directions. So,
Next door, you mean general assistance?
yes, the, I don't know what is next door.
Yeah. So you need blueprints of what?
Of the house.
Of your house?
Yes.
The plan of survey or the blueprints?
No blueprints. If they, I wanted to find out where can I find the blueprints. That's what I came here for.
Maybe the county or the municipality.
Right. Right. Are you, she's in the attic.
Did you have your
You're
house
on-
built?
Are you in the attic?
Be the
Did
county.
you have your house built for you?
No, we bought it as a second or third. We were here living for almost 30 years. We're trying to sell it, and I was not able to find the paper, so I just came here only to get some information. And I got this roll around here, you know, just go there. They did not know, not very professional. You know, for the, I think that those people are paid by the, excuse me, by the people who are living here. So I think that they should be treated better.
Sure, but I'm just trying to solve the problem.
Are you in unincorporated
We
Maine
have-
Township?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
County, yeah.
So,
It's in,
Yeah, it's unfortunately Cook County.
this place. That's what I thought, you know, just as even in Cook County, so they should be able to tell you, you know, or give you something, or get you something, some information, not send it to the commissioner's office, to the, whatever.
So somebody sent you to the highway commissioner's
Yes,
office or
yes,
the
I
Cook County?
don't know, there is a lady, I don't know if she's here, I don't know,
Not here.
the lady, she's not here.
Did she help you?
No, she said she didn't know. What, who sent me there? That's what she said. Who sent you here? I said,
well, can I, do you mind?
I don't mind if you can help her, no, I don't know.
We don't keep records of blueprints, and even the county does not keep records of blueprints. If you wanted to obtain the original blueprints, you have to go to the previous owner, or
they probably might not have it like we don't. And they
Wow.
probably will be even, I mean,
And what
I'm
would
really
be-
puzzled, I'm really puzzled that you said that it's not kept anywhere, because if you want to do some changes there, so you have to ask for permit, so.
well, what you
On
need
the
is
basis of what
to
you
do
just-
changes, then you need a plat of survey. You need a plat of survey to do changes on your property, and that's what you would need. Did you get a plat of survey?
No, we're
from
not,
your
no,
previous-
we did not, I just came here only to ask for how to get, how to find, not to get, what to find.
When you
The
when you
blueprints.
purchase the property, generally, you get a plat or survey with the sale of the
I
property.
probably, I said, I probably might, it's 30 years ago, I have no idea, and especially, you know, when-
You can go to the Cook County Recorder's office, and they'll be able to give you a survey, and then if it was an unincorporated Cook County, you can contact the Cook County's building department, and they might have some permit information for you, because the township doesn't do building permitting, that would be the county in the unincorporated area.
Cook County meaning downtown?
Potentially, yes, depending on what office you're going to. Yeah.
We do permits for, so they probably send you to the highway department, because the highway department does permits for other things.
Public right-of-ways.
Correct, for public roads and things like
What
that.
we recommend, you know, let's say, I'm sure she's talking about plat of survey,
Right.
she's interspersing blueprints.
Right.
But what we do is, we suggest that a lot of these buildings are all built at the same time. And if you want information, you know, go to your neighbor, see if he's got, you know, a plat of survey, and who provided it, who was the person who provided the plat of survey. Then, if they're still in business, you contact them, and hopefully they can render you a duplicate copy of the plat of survey for that apartment or that building.
So what we're saying is, so if you did this as a FOIA, a Freedom of Information, right?
Yes.
We wouldn't keep those records. It wouldn't be that, and I'm sorry if somebody was rude, and I don't think they meant to be, but we
I
don't keep
only,
those records.
my question was only, where to find the information. That's what my purpose. It was 95 degrees, an older lady, and here they sent me around.
And what? I couldn't hear
Be
you.
central ground.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, it doesn't help by being sorry.
No, of course not. But I hope that you now understand we don't have the information, and they probably thought that the highway department.
I think that you should give proper training to your employees. I think that's my recommendation.
If you can tell me, if you know who it is, or.
I have
is
no
it the-
names and I'm not going to play them.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? In the first row, trustee, Assessor Meyer. Or Susie.
I am Susan Cry. I live in Des Plaines. I am the assessor in Maine Township. As a result of the last regular Maine Township meeting, the governing board majority removed me from the dais, which is the board, as they continue really to show little respect for my office and also for highway. We've been elected officials from the township, and we should actually be on the board, I feel, but I am not. I am a non-governing body member, and the majority has the vote on that. So now I have to think that my time to present anything that I have from the assessor's office, I have to do in public opinion, because I feel that even if it goes to a point where we have officials report, they will probably not let me enunciate anything that I would have to say. So that's why I'm here tonight. I'm here as a resident that was voted by the township. And I would like to continue to say that my comment and my report will continue to be here, because I have 5 minutes. And I was going to bring my timer, but I kind of forgot that. So just wanted to let you know what's been happening in the assessor's office.
Excuse me, I'm going to answer.
Excuse me, I am talking now. You don't interrupt public opinion.
Well, this isn't public opinion.
But it is so far, because I don't know if I'll even be able to speak up there. I cannot
I
speak.
have everybody stop talking. Thank you. Okay. So, Assessor McCarty will actually get to do a report, an official's report. And you are at the 4th minute. So, you want to wait till the end, or you don't want to wait? Do you want to, I don't mind if we hear her report now. It doesn't matter, because we're going to have an official report. So she's going to be part of an official report. I understand your concern about public participation, but she is the public. So I know. Okay.
I do live, I'm a resident.
Hang on. We're not going to be back and forth. What's the concern here?
The concern is that public participation is for public participation and not an official report. That is a different part of the agenda.
That is correct.
Okay, and it is, I believe, and I would like our attorney's recommendation on this, that it is inappropriate to do what Assessor Cry is doing here, and that she can easily give her a report in written form.
But that's not required, so that is not, she's also allowed to do an oral form if she chooses. So, with respect to the issue of public participation.
The concern is that whether or not the report is in the proper form, regulating what somebody says and public participation would be essentially regulating speech. So we have very little ability to regulate what somebody says from public comment. If she's a resident, even if she's not a resident, we can't control who gets to speak in public comment. So as long as they're complying with time, place, manner regulations about what we say about what goes on in public comment, as far as timing, decorum, things like that, we can't regulate the content of what someone says in public comment.
Aren't you speaking as a private citizen when you're in public comment?
Yes.
So
I'm a citizen.
Right, so the content of our comments.
We cannot
as a
regulate
public-
the content.
As a
Again.
private citizen, it's as a public official.
The problem is
She
that
prefaced it by saying it's as a public official.
I think anytime, we can't regulate who can speak at public comment, and we can't regulate the content of the speech at public comment. So any trustee.
This is basically your
anybody-
choice
I-
for governing body.
Okay, hang
This is
on,
where I am
we're
now.
getting back to you in a minute, don't use your time,
Okay.
hang on.
We can have certain public comment for agenda items and certain public comment for non-agenda items if we'd like, but we can't regulate what somebody gets up and say. Somebody could get up there and read a magazine to us for 5 minutes and we wouldn't be able to stop them.
Oh,
That's kind of the issue with public comment. It's like a soapbox in the park, essentially. It's an open forum.
Okay, so now, on a public comment.
And how about, can I ask you also, how about responding to any of my comments while I'm up here doing?
Well, you will be
The
given.
board has no
time.
obligation to respond to any comments from public comment. The board's allowed to, but there's no obligation for the board to ever respond to a question during public comment. That's not required by the Open Meetings Act.
Or a comment about what I say?
Correct. Right. The board has no obligation to respond to public comment at all.
Okay.
Okay, so, having said all that, we have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left of public comment.
But I wasn't speaking during.
No, I know, I got you in the room, don't worry.
I do want to make a comment about my shirt that I'm wearing tonight, and it really came in handy because it was a little bit chilly here and I was sleeveless, but I will let Trustee Jones talk about that, but just to let you know that it was something that happened, and I just wanted to show it to you. So that's all I got to say about that right now, because I will let her speak upon that. I just want to talk about the assessor's office and let you know that what we have done in the month of
I think
July.
this supposed to be on public comment.
No.
This is assessor.
Okay, hang on, I need to stop the time because that's taking, okay.
Again, the issue is
Yeah.
that during public comment, we can't regulate the content of the speech. During her report, if the board wants to say that the report's already been done and the board doesn't want to hear the report, the board can say, we don't need to hear an assessor's report if it's going to be redundant. But during public comment, we can't really regulate the content of the speech. Gotcha.
Okay, now you make
I
it.
know previously they did not really want to hear what the assessor's office did because they didn't feel that we were something that was beneficial to the township, where it, and is my office does receive a numerous amount of residents that come in and use our office. And whether you do and whether you don't, I think that the people that do use it appreciate us and they're respectful to our office. So I just want to say in July that we serviced 1,493 residents. That's less than around a third of what we did the previous month. But this month was our highest certificate of error that we have done thus far. Many were a result of exemptions that were not applied to the second installment of the tax bill. In many cases, we were able to get a corrected tax bill for residents, and otherwise the Cook County Treasurer would be sending a check typically in 2 to 4 months. We're waiting right now for a decision from the Cook County Assessor's Office on the appeals, and we're hoping sometime in August, which means that after that period of time, we will be open with a board of review. My final statement, and I guess I won't be taking my whole 5 minutes, is just to recommend that the employees of the township really worked hard. I have not taken my contribution to my insurance, hoping that that would be a consideration for the governing board to consider a raise for our people that have bent over backwards to accommodate the board and to really work hard and to help our residents. I know there's people in here that think that that shouldn't happen, but truthfully, they pay taxes, their taxes raise. They pay for gas, that has raised. They're residents too. They are working people. Their salaries are now outrageous. And some of these people we have are single moms trying to support a family. And I think it's just even that 2.5% or whatever is beneficial to them. So that's fine. That's my thing.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That's my time. Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, I don't know which of you had your hands up first. All right, step right up. And tell us your name.
Good evening, I'm Garland Armstrong, and I'm a resident of Des Plaines. I've been living there for about a year and a half. Before that, I used to live in Elmwood Park, Illinois, former resident of Elmwood Park, and I'm also a disability advocate and activist, and I'm on the ADA Advisory Committee for Pay Chicago ADA, former Metra ADA Advisory Committee member, former CTA ADA Advisory Committee member, and I also belong to an organization called Access Living. It's at 115 West Chicago Avenue in Chicago. And I'm also part of CMAP, that stands for Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning Citizen Advisory Board, down at the Willis Tower, formerly of CMAP. And my wife is also disabled too, so she's also on the ADA Advisory Committee too. She's a former Metra ADA Advisory Committee member and a former RTA ADA Advisory Committee member. So we both are on we're part of disability organization and disability advocates too. So my wife's name is Heather Armstrong. So my wife was saying to y'all that you should help out for low-income people, especially for those like people who like don't have enough money, like for dental in part, like for dental checking on their teeth, and also too for vision and also for hearing, because we've been trying to advocate for it and we can't even afford it. And my wife has more health problems than me, and as a caregiver and a husband, I'm doing everything as best we can. And also too, when we lived in Elmwood Park, we used to have a dollar ride 6 days a week coming, but you have to call 24 hours days in advance. And I think the Maine Township should one day suggest to have a dollar ride, especially for individuals with disabilities and seniors too, because other communities have dollar rides, but not the Maine Township area, and I think it's time.
Actually, we do. We can get you rides. We do. Did somebody tell you we don't?
Nobody didn't say anything, and we live in Des Plaines at 751 Graceland Avenue.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm trying to help. So did you call and ask? Because we do. We have a program, or two programs. So there's Maine Lines, and then we have the FISH program for doctor's appointments, and yes, we can take care of that. But this is Maine Township, so I don't know if you talked to Des Plaines.
Yeah, I saw that, and then sometimes one of them said that, like whenever my wife has to see the doctor.
Yeah, no, we can do that.
On different days when she has an appointment, and then I just gotta find out and then how much it is, because sometimes when we take Northcook, we just use our paratransit, but we don't know about the FISH part and how much will they charge us, especially for low-income people who are disabled, because that's always a big question.
My house is a free bus. FISH is free though too. FISH doesn't charge you.
No,
It depends on where they're going.
right.
Has
to be within Maine.
Right, it's within Maine Township.
Start.
We give rides within Maine Township. Is the doctor like in Chicago?
No. Right, like at Nesset Pavilion, or sometimes
Okay,
she
I'm
goes.
gonna give you a phone number to call so that you can get this set.
All right.
And you can keep talking. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
All right,
I can take care of your.
and then also volunteer for walk and running events, so I do a whole lot, so just want you to know that,
Thank you.
since we are raining.
And we will absolutely have two programs, Maine Lines, like you said, and FISH. And both of them can do different things. that can help you and your wife get to doctor's appointments within the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna?
Do you need a card for the number for Maine Township? Our card for Maine Township number?
Hi, I'm Donna Adam from Des Plaines. One of the things that I wanted to, for anybody that's listening, to when we think about the assessor's office, one of the things I didn't know until I studied the issue is that all of the taxes in the area are assessed, and there's no changing those numbers. And if we have 1,000 people that come in and are able to somehow protest those taxes and get their taxes lower, all that means is that other people's taxes will go up in direct proportion to that. So we could spend all day, and if everybody in the township were able to protest, that would just mean that other people's taxes would go up. But it is a great thing that people can do the protesting of the taxes and be able to individually get their taxes down. Another thing that I have noticed is that government likes to grow. That's just the nature of government. And our taxes continue to increase in Illinois only because of the growth of government. Anybody that tries to fight that and to make that go down will be looked at and called an extremist. They will be called out because they're not agreeing to let the government increase. And I think we have to think about that when we think about our taxes. Why a lot of people don't understand why the taxes are actually going up for everybody. They look around and why are the taxes going up? And that's because government is increasing in all the different places, the library, the park district, the township, the city, and so forth. Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Can I respond to?
No.
Not till the assessor's report.
Already got this.
What?
We had the assessor's report.
You already got this.
Oh, well, no, I can still do
No,
it.
okay, I can't.
I won't be redundant.
No.
I won't be redundant.
I have a public.
Okay, no, guys, stop.
Well, I just think that someone gave
Did you hear a
Yes,
stop?
I know, but,
They
okay,
gave-
no.
Did we hear a stop?
information
Did we
that
hear a
was
stop?
not appropriate.
There's
Will you
Not
please, I'm
appropriate
getting
to
there,
assess
can I?
office.
You
And I
really
want-
don't when it comes to,
No, I am, it's just you keep interrupting, so stop talking.
oh, that's right.
I said that, but I can't get a word out. Susie, what doesn't matter if she's wrong is my We just literally heard, we don't content regulate. So you can have a talk with Donna, but we're not going to do that right here and right now, okay? Does anybody else have public participation?
Yes.
No, you don't get to him.
He has the right to go up there and speak if he'd like.
Oh, okay, go on. I thought the board couldn't. Are we happening? Wait, I gotta start over. Yeah. Okay.
I'm Dave Carabota. I live at 8049 North Ocanto in Niles, Illinois. What you're looking in front of you, this round counter, is called a dais. The dais is supposed to be supplemented. People who sit here are supposed to be voting members of the board, the attorney and the clerk. That was based in part on legal advice we had from our new attorney on the first week to try to calm down this board, because we're looking at 8:10 p.m. and you see how much we've accomplished so far. Are we having fun? Every night we end up going to 11 o'clock. These meetings should go and end at 9. We have a lot to cover. And I appreciate this board's decision to come forward and do something unpopular that has been done for years, and that is to set up the DIAS the way it's supposed to be. And that's what makes for an effective meeting, so we can address issues and not personalities. Whether or not one feels something does not make it true. The commissioner, the highway commissioner, and the assessor are free to give their reports orally later on in the meeting, as allowed by the board. They know that. Whoever comes forward and says they're not allowed, that's not false. I mean, that's false. Their reports can also be given in writing, and there are those who elect to do that. So just for clarification, there is no attack on any particular individual, elected or not. There's the right way to do things, and that's what we're doing here. Thank you, and I appreciate the board for taking that courageous vote. Thank you.
Are you wanting to do public participation? No, you have to get up and do
I am going to make a comment per Robert's rules and what I understand.
I'm sorry.
I need, yes, as a
We're
trustee.
still in public participation. Can we please
Okay, finish public
do this meeting in order for once?
I'm going to raise my hand when public participation is
Okay,
complete.
then you may stand up and I will start the timer off.
No, when it's complete, before you move on to the next agenda item, I want to make one comment.
She's asking to be recognized after we're done with public.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Is there anybody else that wants to talk? Hearing none, I will recognize trustee Sweeney.
When a trustee wants to speak, that trustee has the right to raise his hand to be, or her hand, to be recognized. Dave Carabota, trustee Carabota, did not need to go out to public comment to have that happen.
Requested to do
If
it.
public comment was complete, he has the right to speak as a trustee, as do any of us. So I just want to make that comment that he doesn't need to exclude himself, become a private citizen to come and speak at public comment time.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Now, we're going to get to the first order of business, which is, this is the first time we put this on the agenda to establish or to vote and discuss on employee raises. And I will say, in a very short presentation, in the board packet, it speaks for itself. I believe that at a previous board meeting where we were addressing just funding the line item, Trustee McKenzie had left it open to have consider the idea of raises later after we looked at how much consolidation and cost saving I had done for the township. So you have that report, which is $120,750. The recommendation of the salary study lady was if we couldn't spend the money necessary to put people into the brackets she suggested, was at least to do a 2.5% increase, which costs $41,200, because we've had a lot of changes in this office. We've lost a few people, we haven't replaced some people, so the approximate total savings, even giving everybody that type of 2.5% would be $79,550. And that is all in your board. So I'm gonna make a motion to do that, to establish a 2.5% increase for eligible employees.
Second.
A motion and a second. We're now open to discussion. Sure, trustee Gerber.
Things I've heard earlier today brought back in memory some clarification we need to make. There's a medical insurance plan that costs this township, the taxpayers, well over $1 million a year. It's a grandfathered plan, it's a beautiful plan. It's a plan that if you were to go out the front door here and seek other employment, that plan is not available. It's a pre-government insurance type plan. We have excellent insurance agents that were able to renew this grandfathered plan. But what we faced when we were doing the budget was a substantial increase in insurance premium to the tune of approximately $93,000 plus. There was also money that could be saved to the township if we were to change the plan to substantially, if we went outside Blue Cross and Blue Shield. There was less of a savings, but still a good savings if we stayed within Blue Cross and Blue Shield. But once we let that grandfather plan go, if no one's watched the tapes and didn't come to the meetings that we've had, the last 3 that we covered this, the grandfather plan is gone forever. The judgment that had to be made is whether or not at the time we were doing the budget, whether or not there's going to be pay increases. And when
I'm sorry, that actually wasn't the...
when I addressed my own vote on this issue, I was inclined to say is what most all employers have been doing, and that is to change plans to save premium. The problem with that with the township is twofold. Number one, a number of the certain employees made it clear to me that their children are on the plan, that they're on the plan, and if we change from the grandfather plan, and once we change, it's gone. If we change from the grandfather plan, what they would have to pay in co-pays goes up significantly. What their liability would come for medical treatment would go up significantly. That had to be calculated into my thought process. And as I mentioned, I couldn't help but also be concerned about what we call shock claims. I've been an insurance agent for 33 years. And although I'm not actively selling insurance, I'm very familiar with medical insurance. Shock claims that we had at the township ranged as high as $881,000 for a claim, down to $250,000 for a claim. It was always my personal opinion, you never change policies if you can avoid it. If you have a sick client that you anticipate is going to need significant medical treatment, you save the dollars on the premium, but the client really takes a bath when it comes to treatment, or because treatment is expensive, they go without it. So it was a real struggle. How do we juggle that? Well, we could increase the amount, the percentage that the employee pays of the premium. How about that? Can't do it. Under the grandfather plan, we're barred from increasing that amount. The employee only pays about 5% of the premium. Out there on the street, you're paying 35% of that premium. So to switch, if we switch plans, even to the Blue Cross Blue Shield, then we would have the power and authority to increase the percentage of premium that the employee pays. So we have that increase in the premium to keep the grandfather plan, which is real significant, plus the savings to the taxpayer if we switched, even if we stayed with Blue Cross and Blue Shield and got rid of the grandfather plan, plus what we could have the employees pay as far as more premium out of their paycheck. Those 3 numbers added together were very significant. As we talked about it, debated it, there was a good idea that was put forth. We had a very nice colloquy back and forth with an employee. And said, look, if there's been no pay increases given this year, if we kind of look, step aside and say, look, we have those pay increases that could come, why don't we consider that as additional contribution by the employees to save the grandfather plan? And I took a lot of heat for trying to save the grandfather plan. There was also effort to stop me from being able to vote to save the grandfather plan. And I made it clear that that was my intention, as long as we come to a common ground between the taxpayer and the employee. So the employee needs to now see it. So we agreed then to, I voted yes to keep the grandfather plan, making it real clear that I'm not going to vote for pay increases. And I thought that was a fair and equitable route to do. So when you're looking at the payroll, the one that's receiving now in Maine Township, you have to look at payroll, plus what the employee is not having to pay in medical insurance premium, plus what the employee is not having to pay as far as co-pays, medical insurance claims, higher deductibles, etc., when exercising that policy. Many times the policy is worth almost equal to what the employee's pay is. There was also an effort by our federal government on several occasions to try to pass legislation that would require that an insurance policy that you hold as an employee be valued. And whatever that value is, it's added to your payroll when it comes to considering what your taxes are. And that's been blocked on several occasions. But I think that, when I went ahead and voted for that, that's where I was. I made it real clear. And that's why I'm saying, have these pay increases, are they fair and genuine? Yes. Do we have very good employees? Yes. But those benefits have already been received. So that's my position.
Okay. That wasn't actually, if anybody wants to go back and watch the meeting, that was your take on it, as long with Trustee Sweeney. So, that it was somehow an exchange. That was to fund the line item. We didn't need to fund the line item. We don't need a budget amendment. We don't need any of that. And we lost 4 employees in the following week. So we're not even at the minimum market rate. So you can either treat your employees well and give some type of recognition and increase, or you don't. And the insurance was voted on for several reasons. And let's be honest, you take it, I take it. So let's be honest about that, okay? And transparent. So, there is some self-interest in all of us, I'm sure. It's a wonderful plan. It has nothing to...
It's quite an inference, and I object to it because it's
What,
not
did I
true.
said there is some self-interest?
There is no self-interest. When I said, when my vote was
I didn't interrupt you.
I will not be disparaged by
No, I'm
this
just
board.
not done.
I don't care who you are. My reputation means something here.
Because you're
You are
lying
not going to
again.
disparage me. I will not permit it.
Again, every single
All
time.
right, everybody, once again, to stop.
Just stop.
It's not
Everybody,
lying.
stop.
It's not lying.
He fails to disclose that
hang on.
he, his wife, and his son are on the insurance.
My
And
son-
is not.
Okay, there's no yelling.
I disclose that over and over again.
Look at the meeting
You have to
minutes,
stop it.
disclosed it.
You know, you have to stand up for yourself and your reputation. I don't care where you're at. That's what we're going to do.
If everybody doesn't stop talking, literally, stop talking. Stop. There will be no yelling from the audience. There will be no yelling from the table. Stop. Just stop. What is wrong with all
That's
that?
what I'm saying. Just
No,
stop.
I can talk.
Stop.
No,
attacking me.
I absolutely can say my piece, and I will not be interrupted, as I did not interrupt you. This isn't about you. It's not about me.
So leave me out of it.
Okay. It's a public transparency. I am not unleaving anybody out of it. It is a matter of public knowledge, who and who isn't on the insurance. And it's also, by the way, we have a list of the top compensated people. So yeah, that is a matter of public record on the front page of the website as required by law. So I don't want to hear that. And here's the deal. It's not the moon. It's $41,000. It's net. It's 2.5%. And if you want to vote against it, then vote against it. But we have not had it on the agenda. What was on the agenda previously, as Trustee McKenzie pointed out at the time, correctly, was that it was in terms of having that 3% additional in the line. We don't need the 3% additional in the line item. So instead of everybody attacking, everybody should be happy. I think it's a good thing. Like, there's nothing bad. You're not growing government, contrary to another public speaker. We've actually shrunk our government. But as a result of that, you have some people who are doing several jobs. So And we keep losing them. There is a reason for that. So I think that they should be fairly compensated. And we hired a salary study person, and that's my case. Anybody else? Trustee McKenzie.
Jumping on we hired a salary study person. We did hire an expert. She did a salary study. She came and presented to us. That salary study had findings, and in the findings, as you reported to the newspaper, some people are undercompensated, some people are overcompensated. And when we were, pardon me?
Some people are at market. I can't speak for what the newspaper reported, because it's not a quote.
I'm
So
just
I'm
saying.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I'll tell that at the end, but the salary study is 60% or under. I mean, I can bring it out. 60.
I got it right here.
Good, all right.
So
So right,
I'm not trying to
60%,
quote anything.
40%, 36%, we're good. We're at the market. And
I
we're-
don't want to say that your numbers are right or wrong, I'm just trying to.
No, I mean, that's what the salary study that
I thought it was 40% under, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's
It is what
40%.
it is. So my point was, when we were discussing whether or not to continue the grandfather plan, the discussion of compensation came into play. It came into play then, it also came into play during the budget. And you're very correct that we did not need to add the 3% because we had plenty of money in the line item to, I think, give raises. And appropriately so, we do have very good employees that, like any other employee, should get fairly compensated. And that was my reasoning for asking for a salary study. And so I thought what both consultants, the health insurance consultant and our salary study consultant, the very same night when we were going through all this, I thought that what we had ended up learning is that we should transition and address the undercompensated employees per the salary study and try to give them increases so that we transition them to a place where, as we transition away from the current very expensive health insurance to a high deductible plan, because the current insurance is not even going to be available forever, that they will be in a better economic position to afford the higher deductible and the higher copay. I thought that's what we had agreed upon was the,
We didn't actually agree on that.
we never agree on anything, but.
No, I mean, the salary study lady made her presentation and I went home. We didn't ever.
Well, I think she made a recommendation.
She did. I'm gonna go
And
get
so,
my copy.
when
She did.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said agree.
No, I just didn't know.
But I took what she said to heart, and I thought what she said made sense, as I thought what the health insurance consultant said made sense, and putting them together, and maybe I'm the one who leaped and put them together, and I'm thinking transition. So in my view, I am not opposed to a salary increase at all. What I am objecting to is a straight 2.5% across the board, because I think because we have a salary study, we have to address the fact that some employees are undercompensated, some employees are overcompensated. And so I would like to have I think it would be the administrator would be the proper person to do this, is to provide us another proposal with an analysis using the compensation study and the employees who are undercompensated. And I know there was a schedule, and I know that we decided we weren't going to afford that or couldn't afford that. I'm not sure which.
No, this is the schedule of, I'm going to pass it down. This is the suggested pay grades that you can, this was minimum market and max, so this is directly from, I had a copy, so you could all.
Thank you. So I
you'll
will
see
say
that I wasn't, so there's.
I wasn't finished.
Yeah, keep going.
So I would like to see something that addresses the underpaid, especially the underpaid employees, and see if we can get our budget for salary increases to be substantially allocated to getting those people back on track. And yes, give employee raises, but quite frankly, if we have, we do have some people who are overcompensated, there should be no across-the-board raise for those people because they're already over the market per our salary study. So now I have another idea for that. I'm not opposed to bonuses as, merit bonuses or whatever they need to be called for, exceptional service, even if an employee is at their market. That's what I think.
So I just have a question. I'm sorry, but where in the salary study, because maybe I'm looking in the wrong place, is it have anybody over? That's where I'm having an issue. I don't disagree, but
I can't point to it right now.
because I reread the whole thing.
But
before
you
the
don't
meeting,
remember that
and-
there were people
No,
over?
they're at the right at the
No, there were
at the
people
market. They were at the
People
market.
Over
Over
at
the market?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
On page 4 of the salary study, that was classification and compensation final report. There are 2 charts. The bottom
Right.
chart reflects
Uh-huh.
some of the particular positions of the incumbents, as they're
Page
called,
4.
and the market value.
Wait, page 4, which thing?
It's the report called the classification and compensation report,
In May 20.
and it's a summary report on the other.
You mean the overview?
It doesn't matter, even people at market would not be people that we should, in my opinion, tailor a substantial portion of the increase to, because we have so many people that are underpaid according to market.
Right.
So I think we should address those people first, because I think that we should transition to a place where they can afford the additional contribution to their health insurance.
So I'm not sure what we're proposing, what you're proposing.
She's proposing that we give the people on the market a raise and the people who are on the market.
So can we do structure raises? I mean, are you proposing so it sort of sounds like we want to get the 60% because it was 60 and 40. I'm not lying, I promise.
I'm not saying.
60% under and 40%, 34% were in the danger and 36% were correctly paid for at market. 4% were in the danger zone.
That represents 10 employees that are the,
Actually, and
lowest.
3 of them
And 5.
left. So,
yeah, so we have 15 employees that we're talking about. They're in the red zone that you're referring to.
I have the whole list by name and we can't do that, right? So you do too. And but now we've lost the bookkeeper, right? And we've lost a person in the clerk's office, and she's not getting replaced. And so there's so I'm not sure. The salary study was in May, and we've had so many changes since then, and certainly we didn't go by the salary study, but so out of the 4 or so jobs that might be at markets, I don't think there's going to be more than 2 or 3 currently that are going to be even remotely over anything. I don't think there's anything over.
I wasn't focusing on over, I was focusing on under.
Right, no, I'm with
Salary
you.
increases?
Yeah.
So
But I'm saying,
I
can
guess-
we do a proposal? I'm trying to fashion this.
Yes, so my proposal would be to ask Dana to use the salary study or the people that are undercompensated. I'm not focusing on over or at market, but
Okay.
to use the salary increase to substantially or a disproportionate amount to address the undercompensated people first, and then, look at what's left and see what we can give the market people and people who are, if there are any people over market, rather than an across-the-board,
In the study, she actually gave numbers on how to do that.
The steps.
Yeah, she gave.
But
the
those,
steps.
okay, so that's right, but to do those steps cost well over.
41,000.
Right. So your proposal, great, but it is going to be more money.
I'm not making myself clear. I'm saying,
That's what
I am not objecting to the proposed total amount of salary increase.
41, you want to keep it at 41,500?
I don't object to that number. I am open to that number. I'm speaking for me, I'm just telling you what I think, okay? But I think that we would be irresponsible not to address what we paid for, which was a salary consultant to tell us how we can better our structure and address that by looking to give a substantial portion of that amount that we agree on to the underpaid first. And, you know, maybe it's not the 6-year plan or, you know, the whole plan that the salary study consultant told us we could do. I mean, that was something that she tossed out there. And now we have less employees because some of them left, so maybe we can afford it now. I don't know. But my proposal is that Dana tell us what we can do or what she thinks would be some proposal to look at addressing the needs to get the underpaid people transitioning upward at a higher rate than just the straight, everybody gets the same thing, because if everybody gets the same thing, then we're still gonna have the underpaid people at much.
That was her recommendation. That really was. The salary study lady actually
Right,
recommended.
but
If we
Glenn
didn't-
doesn't want to go above
You know what I-
41,500.
So I'm just confused. I mean,
Okay, if Dana understands what I want.
You got it, I learned that a while ago.
No, but I'd like to know because I'm gonna be super.
Let me put something together and see if it's what you want. I think I understand.
Okay, so I'm clear. Is the total bucket that you want to play with 41,200?
I personally have no objection to that total budget.
So an average of 2.5% done in the right way.
No, but it could be more for some of them.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. And then we're saying the same thing.
I think what she needs, they need to not give every bottle.
Right,
One
exactly.
every
Right,
first
right.
year, but see
Correct.
how many people we can bring up in the first year, maybe some more in the second year, you know, so let me.
Like we used to do.
Let me
Like
do
what I did
something.
last year.
And you could call me during,
Yeah.
So, again, though, are we coming back to vote on this? What are we doing? Trustee Sweeney.
Okay, I've listened and I have a couple comments. One, I think trustee Carabota accurately summarized what he actually presented, and I think he did specify that he was on the healthcare plan. So I heard him say that. This is on record. It's videotaped. I would suggest people go to look at that if they want to hear it. But I think he, and I would concur, and I was part of that vote as well. And in my vote at the time, I also felt that there's a trade-off. If you're looking at a $93,000 healthcare premium increase, not to mention that we pick up 25%, excuse me, we pick up 95% of the premium for all employees. It's a very expensive plan for the township to pay for. And it's a very great benefit that's been given to the employees. And in light of the fact that it was a $93,000 increase in the premium cost alone, in addition to what we paid for premium, but just from a year to year, it's an increase of $93,000. I couldn't imagine how we could also provide salary increases at during the same year. I wanted to look at the data. So fortunately, Chris has provided the audit and came just in time. I did look at what Dana had provided in terms of the savings and had arrived at that $41,000 amount that was suggested with the 2.5% increase. First of all, that 2.5% CPI was based on, I think it was 2.1 at the time when Mr. Porter had addressed our board, but I'm going to pass down the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and I pulled up the most recent one yesterday. The CPI index is now 1%, and that's based on the past 12 months. So that is the current CPI index. It is not 2.5. So what they factor when they look at CPI, just in case people want to know, is they look at the energy index, and that declined 1.5%. They look at the food index, and then they look at everything other than food and energy to arrive at that. And this has got the last 12 months, and that's where it's at. So that's the true cost of what's increased. It's not 2.5%. Anyway, back to the analysis that I did do in looking at the audit. So I went through department by department of the audit from 2018, which our fiscal year ended at the end of February, and also compared that to the 2019 audit fiscal year ending in February. And what I determined after looking at those numbers, because I wanted to see how it compared to what Dana had showed here as $120,000 savings to the township, based on a lot of the cuts that we made with salary and people that had left. And I wanted to see, you know, even though that was back in February now, the data and what it reflected. The total personnel savings, because I looked at it from the salaries, but then, as you know, there's more to personnel costs than salaries alone, because we have several different insurances that the employees have, and we have several different, we have the IMRF, we have the pension, and so all of that needs to be factored into consideration. So after looking at the total by each department, and I looked at admin, the assessors, the clerk's office, OEM, mainstay, senior and adult services, and general assistance. So in administration...
There's no raise for OEM, so you don't have to consider.
Okay. Well, I just want to comment and report this because I think it's important. Administration in 2018 on personnel costs were $1,246,527, and in 2019 it's $1,206,582. So we've reduced our administrative cost in personnel, again this is all personnel, $39,000 in 1 year. In the assessor's office, it went from 321 to 302, and it increased to 336,918. It went up 15,616. The clerk's office went from 195,402 to 205,553, and that went up 10,000. OEM went from 30,352 to 17,888, so that was a decrease of 12,464. Mainstay went from 563,205 to 576,322, which was an increase of 16,883. I know
These are numbers as of February, right?
that's year to year actual expenditure, correct.
Yeah,
So
so these
I-
are way over.
If I can finish, I understand, and I was just going to comment that Mainstay is, you know, according to this report, is saving $36,000 annually. But we haven't seen that benefit here in comparing it, maybe because some of the other personnel costs went up, but that's why you've got to look at the total picture. The senior and adult services reduced $90,026. They went from $447 to $357,187. So we had some personnel changes there. And general assistance went from $611,834 down to $597,177. So we reduced that 14,000. So when you look at overall what happened, we actually reduced our personnel expenses 114,000. That's pretty significant. Then today, as we've known that we're looking at alternatives to sustaining our bookkeeping and replacing Denise. So in looking at that, I mean, which will be a consultant services, we'll also see some reduction in the expenses with personnel that will be significant, excuse me, as well. So, although I had previously said, you know, there could be no consideration for additional salary increases because, you know, it's not just salary, it also is pension and the expenses that come with that, you know, in employee costs. I'm looking at the fact that we do have, and the total amount that Dana had shown here of 40,000 is not, you know, very significant in light of the fact that we have some employees that have been identified as being extremely low. So I would be willing to put a cap on it and also consider and look at, you know, what I see as the difference between what the increased healthcare premium is of $93,000 and what we've saved was $114,000 plus, which will probably be more like 7 and 14, you know, and probably to 120. So we'll probably save $30,000. You know, we will show at least the savings to be you know, over $30,000. So I think if we address some of the employees that are the lowest, where we're really way outside the range, I would give consideration to that. So that I would concur with Trustee McKenzie, but I also concur with Trustee Carabota, because in the sense that, you know, we really did make this decision to offset, you know, something had to give. We looked at healthcare costs and we, you know, to protect everything every year, I don't think we can. I think we could look at this, what I'd like to do is look at this increase, and just use it as a 1 year, you know, alternative, like what can we do to provide an increased compensation. But maybe for the lowest, we could consider addressing that with some type of a salary, but I as Trustee McKenzie had said, some kind of a bonus or increased compensation for the lowest. But I do think we should put a cap on it, and I think the cap probably shouldn't, you know, I prefer to see it at 30,000, not 41,000, but, you know, I'm open to looking at what it looks like when we address what we're going to prepare for us. Thank you.
Trustee Carabota, one final.
When taking into consideration what was said, it is interesting consideration, keeping in mind though this, the premium increase was $93,000. The amount that we could have employees pay as far as a percentage of premium, overall premium every year, right now they're paying 5%. If it was increased not to 35%, but to 25%, the employees would be picking up this year another $224,000 in premium expense if we were to let go of that policy that we have now and transition to another policy where we can increase the percentage that the employee is required to pay. So it's not only the $93,000 that that the taxpayers are consuming, but the $223,000 that they would have to pay, that the employees would have to pay. And in addition to that, of course, there's the savings to the employee, as I mentioned, per employee and per claim that they make as far as deductibles and as far as out-of-pocket expenses. And then there's also the premium savings on the third element, which would be from transitioning off the grandfather plan, the reduction in premium to the other Blue Cross and Blue Shield plan. So it would be, I think, a much greater burden on the financial burden on the employees to go ahead and change the plan.
We can't change
but it was presented that these pay increases are to try to help in the transitioning off of the plan. That gives me a lot of concern because but that's what we have to keep in mind for this particular year. For this particular year, it's not that these pay increases weren't given already. They were given in the tune of $93,000. They're given in the tune of $223,000. They're given in the tune of the savings of each employee, and that's what's got to be considered here. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to amend my motion. And I'm going to amend my motion that I made, which was seconded by Trustee Jones, to postpone this item to the August board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second. Is there any further, please, God, no, discussion on this? Hearing none. Nisha, can you call the roll?
Supervisor West?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Marquez?
Yes.
Trustee Calabro?
Yes.
Trustee Sweetie?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just getting a bottle of water. Give me about 10 minutes. The next item was held over from last month, I believe at Trustee McKenzie's request, which is the Barton Marketing Group contract renewal. That is, okay, so this is a general agreement and contract for professional services. I make a motion to, is this for a year or a month? That's what I honestly can't remember. Okay.
July 27, 2019.
Right, because our board meeting was going to be July 27th. Thank you, Dave. Okay, is there a second on that?
Second.
Having a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Trustee Carol?
One of the items that jumps out that I think should be deleted from the contract, it says that the contractor, which would be Barton Limited, shall communicate.
I agree with you. It
solely
wasn't
with the
real- I agree with
administrator
you.
or with the,
Yeah.
let me finish though. Shall communicate, the contractor shall communicate solely with the administrator
Yeah.
or the township supervisor or their designee. The reason why, of course, and I appreciate your concurring, Supervisor Morass, is because there should be an ability with this contract for any trustee to be able to pick up the phone and call Dick and be able to talk to him about what's going on.
Well, the current agreement we're operating under actually has it. So, it's in the 2018, 2019, it is in there, that, any elected official. So,
I'm just.
I agree with you. With that amendment, are you willing to make that amendment?
I'd like to hear all the objections before I make it.
No, it was an amendment that,
But I could
somebody
talk to
had a
you.
question, they could talk to you. Like the way the 2018-19 contract is. Your actual existing contract says,
This is-
on a day-to-day basis, you deal with me and Dana. But if they have a question, in your existing contract, it actually
Well,
says,
the existing contract expired last week, so.
well,
and then
but we held it over a month.
It was
and
held over,
agreed
which
to.
actually
Right.
has expired again. There is no current
So,
contract.
but I'm saying, the contract
The new one, I think, is
previous,
what we should be
right,
discussing.
The new one has that language, and I agree that language, I don't think it should be a problem for a trustee to get information or answer questions. It doesn't mean that you're gonna like have a different point person, it means that they can ask questions. It means exactly what it says.
Well, are you okay with going back to that language?
The problem is, and we've had this discussion with Laura and Dana earlier this year, continues to be a discussion. It's a matter of clear direction and clear channels of communication.
I don't think there's been a problem.
If we're hearing hypothetically from one of the trustees a certain point of view or something like that, then.
That's not what they're talking about.
If they want to call me, ask a question, fine, but, you know.
Well, okay.
It's giving direction and it's the approval process, so when there's something to be
That's not what they're
reviewed.
talking, okay, I'm gonna read you the language.
Yeah.
Do you have new language? Is that what-
No, the language that was
The
previous.
existing one.
Okay, so I'm gonna read this. This language, which says, somewhere here. Just already read it to me earlier.
First page.
What page? Oh, here. Okay,
G, I think.
communicate with administrator and/or supervisor on a weekly basis or as needed to discuss possible press release or other media needs, but also be available on an as-needed basis to meet or communicate with the supervisor, administrator, or other elected township official.
Which is,
That's in the old contract.
Yes, so we're asking that to be back in.
Okay, is there any other
That's it.
consideration, any other changes before I?
but we're deleting the sentences, the contractor, paragraph 1, the contractor shall communicate solely with the administrator or with the township supervisor or their designee.
Right. I agree.
How would you have us communicate then?
No, but everything else, exactly how it says, that you talk to me and Dana on for the overall program, and then on an as-needed basis, the G. How it is.
Is that it for the changes?
Yes.
So, no,
I think that was.
I'd like to hear it all before I make a
Just to finish, looking then at G, I think the language in G should be tightened up just a bit so that it allows, I keep saying this, but we're more of a familial type of township body that allows, not on that simply allows trustees, because it doesn't know, that makes it really clear that trustees are not relinquishing their power or authority to go ahead and communicate with you, Dick, when it comes to any issue regarding work being performed, to be performed, anything under the contract. So that's what I want to make clear. I think the language has to be tightened up just a bit.
Are you talking about the new
Right.
wording?
Yeah, G.
Okay. Again, I'd like to hear all objections. I believe, would imagine Trustee Sweeney has some additional comments or questions.
Yeah, I think, there was correspondence that we've had going back and forth with many questions because, I guess my thought was to read some of this and talk about what we can do to address what is still concerning to me. Obviously, I concur with what we just talked about, Section 1 of the contract that states that the contractor, that you're retained and appointed to represent the township in carrying out public information, and that you shall communicate solely with the administrator. And I'm not asking you to communicate with you regarding the publication information or seeking counseling. I just want, or how you exercised your independent professional judgment. But what I do want is, like Section 7 in your contract says that all work product and materials produced by the contractor shall remain the property of the township. So I should be able to access, as we all should, to some of the things that we were looking for with communications. Truth be said, we've had a lot of negative press. And, as far as what I'm concerned about is that we want to have public relations and convey some of the things that we actually have been successful at doing as a board. Whether it's, looking at the fact that we abated. We're the first township in the state of Illinois to do that. I haven't seen any local press on anything here. So, I think there's a lot of things that we would like to actually see. So when I asked for some specifics, you said your answer was your contract does not call for us to maintain a record of emails that we're requesting, and the documentation is not, available. Let's see. The work product is routinely supplied to the administrator who approves, often the supervisor, department head, or official if individuals are quoted on the work product. Yet it says in Section 7 that we're entitled to see that work product. The work product is also supplied when appropriate to the webmaster. So that was something that was concerning to me. And I asked for, you had said that you determine and analyze the effect of the public information program that you put in place. That's part of what your contract states that you offer. You stated that you have conversations with this, supervisor, and that you mentioned obviously about the trademark violation. But what I was seeking was an analysis on the efficacy of your work, the data or evidence.
Okay, so Susan, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that part just can't be done because that's a whole different, I don't think you can ask the independent contractor to do data analysis of the efficacy of the work? How would that be done?
Well, in his contract, he does state now that he will determine and analyze the effect of the public information program.
Right, if there's negative press, we try to put in a good article. That's actually been the he will do a good press release. I mean, that was the whole thing. Yeah, so I don't know how you can determine though, empirically, you like empiric data. I think what he was trying to say, and I don't mean to speak for him, but I think what he's trying to answer you is that if you want, in addition to, and yeah, maybe because some of the newspapers don't like to write about the township, who knows? I mean, we submit to where we submit, and which is everybody. So, you know, if you want empirical, statistical data, I don't know how a public relations person does that. And I think that would be an additional cost. Am I saying that right?
Somewhat, yes. I'd like to clarify, maybe the attorney can comment on this. I think we needn't confuse the terms public relations with public information. Our program,
Right, I'm sorry.
our program is public information.
Right.
Public relations implies, and I'm accredited in that area, and have been since 1985, it implies persuasion, which is not appropriate, I believe, for this governmental body.
No, I agree. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's, and actually that's what we call it.
So to clarify what, Trustee Sweeney, are you asking for work product? I mean, it's routinely given to the township.
I mean, you're talking about
Maybe it doesn't reach the
prior
trustees, and that's a matter of the process in place.
Yeah, there's a number of things that don't come directly to us.
Yeah, and that's the way it's been for 19 years. So if you want to change that, we can take a look at it, but it'll complicate things. I mean, the approval has rested primarily with the administrator and the supervisor. They consult others as necessary, like if PG Alamis is quoted.
An article, I'm happy to do it.
The article we did about responding to someone misusing the township logo to solicit tax appeal business. We discussed that with the supervisor, the township attorney got involved. We did a response article, which involved interviewing
Yeah, the attorney suggested it because there was no enforcement.
Yeah, so, you know, it's reacting to news and analysis. I'm not sure if it's possible, as Supervisor Moran said, to give you the kind of data that you're looking for. It just doesn't exist. And we haven't been asked to do that in the past.
Right, we can't go backwards.
I think that there are many things that we could look at when I look back at the status report and, you know, can see month by month or specific things that have been done. I think that, you know, I understand your public information and not from how you're describing this now. But we do a lot of things. I think we could look at this and say, you know, what is it we really want to have? Do we want a PR firm or do we want public information? Do we, you know, this is a $40,000 contract, and basically when I look at a month-by-month basis, you know, a lot of things are repetitive when we do have news releases. Looking at National Night Out and the garage sale and the annual events that we have, Expo, pardon?
Because we do the programs every year?
That's what I just said.
I'm confused.
What are you confused about? I just stated
Of course
that.
they're repetitive.
Right,
Oh.
that's my point.
Right, but I mean,
So the news
programs changed,
releases-
the board changed, I mean,
Right.
I can't use, I actually object, they used an old quote of care, you know, so.
Okay.
So I'm gonna just,
Well,
we
currently-
can't be here all night. Here's the thing.
I'm not finished, please.
I just wanna enlighten you
I'm
on
not
one
finished.
aspect though, and then you can go on your heart's content. But what I wanted to enlighten you was that we had a previous different person, okay? Dick wasn't the person. And so now he will be taking it over. And I agree with you. I think the monthly report should be more thorough. And like that's where you were going.
No,
Okay.
Wait, what do you mean?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I thought we
Who's
passed
the
it the
person?
whole time I've been.
No, Alex was the person.
Oh, but it's Barton.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's like different people handling the account.
Currently, as you had said, you work, it's 20 to 25 hours per month, so that equates to, depending, between $134, $136 to $170. If we look at some of the things that are being done on a monthly basis, one thought I had is, how about an hourly contract, and we look at things that we want to see that I don't specifically see the need for board meeting attendance, because if you're putting in 20 to 25 hours a month and coming here and spending 4 hours, that's 4 hours out of the month, and you got 1 hour left to do something, and we're spending $3,400 a month. So to
Not
spend
attending these
$3,400.
board meetings, I would agree to.
Oh my goodness, definitely agree with that.
But
He attends them as needed to take pictures of us if we get awards or if somebody gives $10,000 to them.
well, I went through month by month every contract, and you had put that you had attended the board meeting. So, a 4-hour board meeting and you're working 5 hours, 20 to 25 hours a month. I just think we could look and go through this, and, my thought is, why don't we just contract on either a per event basis for press releases, because that's really the most important thing. And a lot of that, is not reinventing the wheel every year. It could just be on a timely basis to say, okay, we've got, Senior Expo, we've got garage sale, we've got National Night Out. We know it's going to come every single year. We just, press the button to release the press release, update the dates, and the press releases go out. So, when you contract that for press releases for a certain, period of time, or not period of time, for those dates, and, an hourly charge.
When we.
So, okay, I have a question. How do you propose to do it? I said there's other things besides press releases that's part of this job, which is also the main meetings. Okay, so that is put together and edited and coordinated by Mr. Burke. So, and he has press releases as needed. And I'm sure he'd be thrilled to not attend board meetings. That I guarantee you he would be thrilled. So I don't care. I mean, if you're willing to do hourly, it doesn't matter to me. Can we just make a decision?
Well, I think
it was
this is
held over a
something,
month, so
I think we should do it on a contract basis, and when it comes to
And we
mainly,
want to have mainly news, don't you want to have mainly news?
I think we should change mainly news. I've had a lot of feedback from residents. We do so much more than what other governmental bodies do with the 6-page
Yes,
glossy.
we wanna see-
We spend a lot of money in that, and I don't think it's necessary.
Hang on, I'm gonna show you.
I think
feelings.
pictures of ourselves, other elected officials don't have that in their newsletters, so I'm not certain that we really need to contract with the level of, intensity it has now. We could look at cutting it down to a
Okay,
black
so
and
this
white
is really
page.
townships. And just, they're a comparable township. And theirs is much bigger, and it's 6 colors, and,
What township is that, Wheeling?
Wheeling.
Okay. Well,
and it has all the, it's literally.
Okay, have you seen Park Ridges, and have you seen?
Yeah, but Park Ridge is not the
Right.
township. We have a problem with people not knowing what we do, as we've indicated, as we've seen in the public participation. So that's, if you don't want me to know, it's whatever you guys.
Can we just make a decision?
Right, it's, trust me,
I think with, there's change in the board, there's a difference in how information is being shared with the public. Newspapers are saying things that we're saying, some of them are true, some of them are not. I have always thought that this was a public relations contract. I didn't realize that it was just public information. So I have a new view, but I think that what Trustee Sweeney is saying, that maybe we should take a step back and look at projects that would be good for the township and that would tie into also getting the whole board involved in voting on what we want to focus public information services on. I think that maybe we do this for a few months and see.
I'm
what
sorry, do
comes
what
out of
for
it.
a few months?
A contract that is hourly versus a retainer, because I think that.
I don't think you'd be unhappy with hourly, would you?
We have clients on an hourly basis, and they run either from 150 to 200 an hour.
I think it's gonna be way
The
more.
typically, the retainer contract has somewhat of a built-in discount in terms of hours. So you're better off, generally speaking, with the retainer contract for a couple of reasons. One, most clients prefer because it's a steady line item. It's not up and down, as some prefer a regular amount. And then you also get, like I said, essentially a discount over what would normally be a purely hourly arrangement.
I'm just saying, in order to address some of the things Trustee Sweeney has been saying in her comments, and I know that I would like to be more a part of what projects we decide as a board to use you for, which we haven't been. And that goes to, you know, who you communicate with, which appears to be something that you're very sensitive about. I think that we should give it a shot and see if it's more, and we decide to go back to a retainer, fine, but then we'll have a month or 2 or 3 or 4 of working on what, you know, what projects we want. And of course, in order to do hourly, you would be giving us a detailed bill like we get from our attorneys and accountants, so that we know what you're working on. And, you know, if we don't agree that the press releases that are routine should be a good part of what you do, then maybe we can fine tune that. If we want you to work on social media information program, which is not being done, and, you know, we're missing the boat on that.
We did address that, actually. It's $14,000 now. I mean, at least we.
On an annual basis, it would be approximate cost to do an appropriate job on social media.
Or maybe we want to do that as a
Maybe we should. And
project.
also, we need someone who would be able to moderate the comments, and I'm not doing that. Or else having no
just saying
comment. So
that's-
that's one of the reasons that social media.
But it's
'Cause you can't
here,
disable
and we need to
government
address it.
No, you can't. You either have it and you have comments, or you don't. I mean, I read the municipal minute.
But it's just like public comment.
Correct.
It's a public forum. if you
Right.
regulate it.
And
So
I
no
can't
comments are allowed.
respond to, like, there's nobody here who could respond to the kind of comments that we would be getting if you look at, like, Park Ridge, Concern Home, for example. Like, Rich can't respond to, you know, comments.
Well, I mean, as a project, for instance, we could, as a board, decide whether or not we want Dick to, or Alex to present to us what that would entail and what the problems
they can
would
present.
be and what the cost would be, so that we are all familiar with the pros and cons and the issues involved. Because even if we don't have a Facebook page that we have to maintain and comment and all of that, there are Facebook pages and comments being made, and as public information, I think that we should be addressing any comments that are related to
And we
the
can't do that
township.
on other plans.
What?
I mean, you want him to do that on other plans?
Well, I don't know, but I think that we need to address it and think about it, because, I mean, press releases are one thing, but, you know, this is a new media world, and I think that we need to ask our consultant what he recommends we do to properly share information about what's going on, and how to deal with negative information.
I don't know that you can address that.
Are you asking my opinion on whether you should do social media?
Yes?
Okay. Yes, I've been advocating it for probably 3 or 4 years, bringing it up, and the answer has always been either the cost or the downside of social media, which we're all aware of. So I'm in favor of it. We do it for other clients. We've done it for some clients for as many as 5 years.
How many government clients do you, that do social media?
No government clients. You're our only government.
No, I mean, that would do, okay.
Yeah,
That
but
answers that question.
I can easily point out, if you just do some quick searches on Facebook, for example, or Twitter, you will find other governmental.
Right, but we wouldn't be able to address what our concerns are. So you want to address those issues, you can't do that, right?
I want to know what's available to us as public information.
I would like to hear about social media too.
Sure. And if you want to spend.
Typically, you would do the three major
time.
platforms. Typically, you would do 2 or 3 major platforms. You would probably start with one, maybe Facebook, and have a Facebook page for the township, and get it going, get it administered, get your messaging. Part of what folks like us do is we craft the messages based on the objectives of the client, and talk about things that are timely, but also then to push out regular messages which are appropriate for the client, with whatever it is. And you can set up systems that are semi-automated. There are tools out there to set up a month's worth of tweets or other things. You can cross-pollinate messages between Facebook and Twitter and so forth. So we know how to do this. We have a person on our team that is a specialist in this. She has a master's degree from Northwestern, and she teaches social media, and she's done it for other clients. Highly successful, but not at this rate, not at this fee. We couldn't do that. It just wouldn't work. So if you want to look into that, we can re-quote it. We have to find out more about what is.
I think they're asking for a separate presentation, right? Not part of
Well,
this.
what I'm hearing is Trustee Sweeney, and just knowing my concerns, and now I don't even remember what Trustee Kiribota was saying, so I'm sorry.
To be able to communicate back and forth directly with any
Right.
trustee.
That too, that I am concerned about, because I think that we could do a better job at communicating to the public, and I see things in newspapers and other forums that are not true, and they are negative from one board member to the other, and I would hope that I thought it was PR, so I apologize that I didn't realize that it was public information. But that too, I would think that we need to figure out how to better do that. So the retainer troubles me because, as Trustee Sweeney pointed out, it's the same old thing over and over again. The press releases are for all, the programs are the same year to year. Maybe there's one new thing here and there, but generally it's the same old thing. And, fine, we have to do press releases if that's what you recommend, but I would think that it's not that time consuming, because you're changing dates, you're maybe changing places. Yes, you do the newsletter, but you're getting content from everybody. You're not writing the whole newsletter, I don't think. I know you didn't write my piece. Yes, did I talk to you for a few minutes? Yes, but I don't think you're doing the whole thing. I don't think.
No,
That's been your role in the newsletter. I can read when
We generate some of the content, and the rest of it we collect it, edit it, and oversee the process of.
And get the ads.
Get the ads in. In some cases, we execute contracts. Like we currently have a contract with Des Plaines Park District that I sold. And, we pursue them for materials. We get the materials to the layout artists. We review the layouts, probably several times before they go to staff for review. So it's a matter of process. If the trustees want to get more involved, I don't know how you do that individually. I've been asking for one point person for a while, and I think the most appropriate person would be the administrator. And questions, comments, sure, a random phone call from any one of you, that's one thing, but to all get involved in making community decisions or committee decisions on virtually everything gets to be way too burdensome, and it's not worth it. If you want to have another proposal, go hourly or by project, which is different than hourly. That's another thing. If you want to present a counter proposal, we have our proposal, which has been we've been on retainer for 19 years, We started in 2000. And, you know, the last several contracts, I've been asked to reduce our fee with really hardly any reduction in what we're doing. In 2016-17, we're at $38.50. 17-18, we're at $35.41. We held that for 2018-2019 at $35.41. And for 2019-2020, we're at $3,400 with virtually no change in duties. And yeah, some of the events are the same, but I don't control if we have an annual garage sale, we have an annual senior expo. We, you know, are asked to help promote that, make the public aware of them so they attend, and you generate, you know, people to come and be exhibitors, things of that way. So I also, you know, work with the staff on creative for the advertising that you do. I know there was some question that Trustee Sweeney had whether or not, you know, advertising in the supplement for Taste of Park Ridge, for example, is worth it or whatever. That's your decisions. I mean, there's only so much that I can control as a vendor, as a consultant. Some of this stuff you're asking about really is amongst yourselves. Who sees what and who makes decisions on what? I mean, and, you know, if members of this board want to talk directly with the press, that takes me out of the loop. And if it comes out one way or another, and I'm not involved, I don't know how much I can do about it.
So do you do most of your work, and I'm sorry, but do you do is a lot of your time spent on the newsletter? Is most of your time spent on the newsletter?
It is a large chunk, yes.
So I mean, basically, we're paying you to oversee the newsletter.
Not really, but that is a good chunk of what we do. There is press releases, probably 2 or 3 a month on average. Some months are higher, others maybe not so much.
Those don't take very long, right? I mean, how long could
it depends. It depends.
One has to go through, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we have to interview someone like the assessor or someone else for information, by the time it's written and by the time it's edited and make changes, we had a quote from Supervisor Maraska or something, you could be looking at easily 3 hours or more just on a single release. So it adds up. And then sitting here at meetings, taking photos, like if I'm still employed, next Tuesday I'll be at National Night Out for 3 hours taking photos. Things like that, it all adds up.
Yeah, well then go on a press release. It's the same thing.
Right.
The most premier National Night Out, which we do.
So really, I'm amenable to,
I'm not opposed to that.
whatever is reasonable, but I just have to manage our time because in addition to our advice and expertise, what we're selling you is time. You know, to spend 40 hours a month on this account at $3,400, frankly, is not worth it. So we have to manage that. And how we manage that is, you know, trying to streamline the processes. If I have to chase for approvals to 2 or 3 people and they're giving me individual and different feedback, that just takes more time. And what I've been asking for is a single point of contact so that that approval, those comments can come back on individual projects, like an ad or a press release or what have you. And I get all the feedback in a reasonable way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So you give
To
them,
walk you through like a piece, like Austin, okay, when Austin became the director of general assistance, so he had a person in his office interview Austin and write a really nice article and it's placed in every paper and sent it. And a picture, all from Austin, the guy got a quote and money we save. So I mean, it's an overall program. I think is the point. And if you hourly is fine. I think your point was well taken about like that the trustees absolutely should be able to ask questions. But his point is that like it's gonna rack up your bill way much if you can't all have editorial. I mean, like, that's a little same.
I would draw a comparison with perhaps like the attorney or others that are
Yeah.
working on it hourly. If you're all calling the attorney individually with questions or requests, I'm sure the attorney has got the stopwatch going, and there's a charge.
I got your.
That's all I'm trying to do is manage the hours, and by dealing with 4, 5, 6 people on almost everything, that becomes unmanageable in my opinion.
Then there's so many emails flying back and forth, it's just unbearable.
I think this communicating back and forth is very refreshing. This is not what I'm seeing, and I know that you've made yourself available to me, Dick.
I've never not taken a phone call or answered an email.
There have been, in my only individual opinion, there have been newspaper articles, et cetera, that have come out by certain individuals that were not, that as a board, if we were to look at that article, we would have never approved it going out. So that, I think, would be conducive to what you were talking about, is that to depend, first of all, communication within the board, that we should receive everything. We can handle that with a policy, with an internal policy. But as far as what does go out, there have been things that went out that I have read that I was furious about, okay? And I know, because you were given the instruction and you do what you do. But I think we could avoid all that by having it where these projects that you're suggesting would come before, this is what I'd like to do, and we would go ahead and we'd approve it and get it done. I think that would be great.
I'd like to draw the distinction between perhaps some of what you've read, and I can only imagine what you're referring to in your own minds. There's been too much of that. But did it originate here, through staff, through me, to the papers? I would challenge and ask for specifics on what you've seen that is objectionable. But I think there are articles that have come out. The editors and reporters are having access to officials and so forth, and I'm not involved. I can't screen it, I can't change it, I can't consult and advise. So maybe you don't want to say that, or you don't want to say this. That's really.
If you would bring it to our attention, because you have your finger on the pulse, and then we can work together on what you would propose, how we would address it.
In some cases, quite frankly, David, you're reading it when I do. I pick up the local paper and I'm seeing headlines that are like, that's the first I'm seeing or hearing about it. And it happens.
We can respond to it through you with your assistance. You can address it.
If it's appropriate, yeah.
It's
It's appropriate.
Yeah, so that would be a board, and I'd like it to be a board decision.
Yeah, and we haven't been asked to do that in all those cases that you're probably referring to.
Right.
And we serve at the pleasure of the township to the extent that we can, and but we can't control everything, especially if it doesn't go through us. That's why, one of the things that to consider is, you were brought up about City of Park Ridge with the spokesperson. I'm not 100% sure, but it may be monthly or maybe even 6 times a year. I'm not sure offhand, but it's definitely more frequent than quarterly. And they have, I believe, 8 pages. You just want to compare that particular one. And as Supervisor Rath say, there's other townships that have bigger publications. They all vary with frequency, but it's the most dynamic. To Trustee Sweeney's suggestion that maybe in Maine News is not worth it, I would urge you to consider it as the most powerful public information vehicle you have. It has 55,000 distribution to literally every household in the township. There is no other publication out there
How many people have told you
that have that kind of distribution. You're giving your goodwill, your good news messages that are reviewed, written by some of you or others, and we're pumping out that good news to every household in the township 4 times a year. That's pretty powerful. I wouldn't discount that. So I don't know. And any other specific questions? I'm not sure where this is headed. You're looking at it.
I think where it's headed is working with Barton and Barton as a board versus one individual making decisions and then we find out later on what's been done. I think as we're working as a board,
I'm sorry,
as
that's Dana.
as trustees, that we would go ahead and approve what would go out, and also taking your suggestions from your years of experience, such as how, we did the $1.25 million abatement, how we should publicize that, how we should let the public know, the positive things that we've done, the savings of the township to the taxpayers while keeping services solid to the taxpayers. I mean, these are things that I would like to see stressed, and your ideas in that regard is what I would like to be able to hear as a board.
I do make suggestions on content for articles, press releases, content in the newsletter, that sort of thing. But more times than not, it's what we're asked to do. And if that changes because of input more from the board in general, that's fine. But I just don't want to get into dealing with 4 or 5, 6 individuals looking at, improving, and commenting on every press release or everything. It's untenable for us. Frankly, I won't do it.
Well, is it possible?
We have to come up with some solution that works for you and works for us as well as a vendor to manage
Okay,
our
so I have a
hours.
solution for tonight. Because honestly, we have like 2 hours to go. Here.
So tell me what you want to do, and you want to rewrite the contract.
So
offer a
let's
different
hold this one
proposal.
over. Can we hold this one over for another month? I mean, I hate to keep postponing. Because I don't think you're ready to make a decision, or, I mean, actually, we can just take a vote on the amendment of the, I don't know, what do you want to do? You wanted to change the language, I agree with you.
What about hourly and vote on the contract? Vote on what it's done.
I mean, I don't care if you do hours, that's fine, I mean.
And then, there's certain
So
things.
so I think we need to postpone for that.
Okay. Are you amenable to keeping this for another month?
As long as the board does what it did before and authorizes
Right,
us to
you
keep
can't wait till the
working.
last minute to ask a million questions.
Well, no, what I was going to say was you have to authorize us to keep working and get paid for it. Because tomorrow is the deadline for the September Mainly News.
Right.
And if I'm not working, it's not going to happen. So if you want me to keep working, I'd be more than happy to. We'll extend it for another month, and continue discussion and see how we can reach some compromise that's a win-win. I'm not opposed to hourly, but my comment earlier, generally speaking, it's not a savings. So whatever you want to do.
It doesn't matter to me. Just in the council.
I'm fine with postponing it and trying to get an hourly contract proposal so that we have 2 to choose from. Is it possible for you to let all of us see a copy or draft of the Mainly News before you publish it?
Yeah, that's up to you. If that's what you want, and that's,
Well,
if we're working on the current contract, it really has to go through Dana and Laura. And if they want to share it, that's certainly something
Dana's
that
the
they may be willing to do.
And works with him on the Mainly News. I don't care.
So I'm the one that reviews it before it goes to printers, so.
I mean, it's like,
I mean, that way.
I have a letter on the front. I institute a trustee corner, so it always has a voice from a trustee. And then the highway department pays for a page, and then the assessor has a page, and then the clerk has a page. So, and then he sells ads.
If I might
Certainly
suggest,
add more, but we can't fit a whole lot more.
What is the role of the graphic designer? Because why can't the department heads write them, if they're writing it themselves, just, provide that information directly?
because some of it is not readable, and some of it needs editing, and our process so far has been that when someone submits an article, say the assessor or the clerk, Laura and Dana also get a copy, and then the 3 of us work on it, and it finally gets approved by these 2, and then it's considered a final article. So I collect those work them as we have to, generate stuff like, you know, for next month or September would be a cover story on the garage sale. I wrote that. So, you know, some of it we write, others, you know, are submitted material, yes, but it has to be edited. And then sometimes there's discussion on, well, you have too much. Dana and Laura see, you know, we have too much. So sometimes we have ads and sometimes we don't. Depends on the length of articles, the number of articles, whether we have any GA ads, that sort of thing. And the decisions are made on what goes in and what can't go in. So,
because we used to have like when I got on board, we used to have where the departments were just repeating. It was just the same kind. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. It has to be updated. You know, there was no point to having that. Not only the departments, I mean like the scene, you know. And so we changed that. So like we split up. I think it's GA and mainstay, right? And every month is fresh content, not because it was always the same. It was like in years past. Because I agree with you. So it's like what's happening. Yeah.
Was there an additional comment you wanted to make, Dick? I thought your hand went up.
if there was, David, I don't recall what it might have been. Thank you.
Happens to me too.
You know, I'm 74 on my next birthday, so I can cop out the senior moment thing.
I think I'll still be here on my birthday Friday.
It is Friday.
I know. I think I'll still be at this meeting.
So whatever the board decides in terms of its process, whether it's hourly by the project, or if you eventually decide a retainer still makes sense, that's fine. If it's different process in terms of who sees what, just decide what you want, and then we'll look at everything, and you know, we have to agree as well. And it's a back and forth. It has to work for both parties in all cases. And I know we have attorneys here. You have clients, and it's got to work for your client. It's got to work for you. So that's all I'm asking. I've been delighted to do this work for a while. I like it. I feel very committed to the township. I end up defending you and the township and who they are and what the value is of what you all do. Socially, one-on-one, whatever. And I've been doing that for years. I'm a believer. So, you know, I don't know. I'm starting to ramble myself. Sorry, I'll stop.
So, is it possible for you to provide a proposed hourly contract as well? That would be, you know, hourly/project oriented, so we can have it in advance and think about it and.
It would be at $150 an hour, which is a little bit less than we sometimes charge. But I have nobody at anything less than that. $150 an hour, and then you decide what you want me to do. I'll give you a detailed bill. We did this, and it took so many hours. You know, I've done that for other clients. So if that's what you want, I would be agreeable to an hourly and give you a more detailed invoice, if that would satisfy some of the questions. I don't know, I mean, what else is there? What do you want?
That would be good.
That would be good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna hold off and we're gonna think about hourly versus retained.
But are we going to authorize him?
Are we going to
Oh, yes.
authorize?
Yes.
We can vote on that, right?
Okay. I'll amend my motion to authorize, or to not do a year, just continue for a month under the old contract.
Second.
And I withdraw the previous, or I amend. Okay. All right. We've had the discussion. Daisha, can you take that roll call?
Supervisor Morales?
Yeah.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McMancy?
Yes.
Trustee Caragona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna move a couple things around. So, we're gonna move the bookkeeping HR position in front of the family therapist, because poor Chris has been here before. I'm sorry, I know you have to, the family therapist, but this is, okay. All right, the next item of business was, as you all know, Denise Reason. And, we interviewed a lot of people. And then our attorney actually came up with this idea and worked with Chris, and I think you all have it. And I think it does a lot of good. I was totally against this proposal because I didn't understand how it would work. And now I do. I'm willing to try. So it is contingent on, and Denise was willing to do part-time. So there would be no IMRF costs, there would be no insurance costs. That's the proposal. And there would,
Hear what you said.
there would be no IMRF costs, there would be no insurance costs. So that takes, moves Denise will not be, on the books as an IMRF or insured. She'll be retiring August 31st. This would take effect September 1st, correct? And Chris and/or a person from his firm, we can set you a table, would come in once. The reason that it went to December, Susan, and I think Chris explained it to you, is we're not sure how much this will need. So it was premised on once a week for Chris. He's done this with Maine Township. Dana gave me a list of other towns.
A list of townships that outsource their
that outsource
bookkeeping services.
So
You've got a list of.
did you get it? Okay, Barrington, Lyon, and
I'm sure there's
John,
more.
Proviso, Hanover, Berwyn, Worth, and Wheatland. Those are just townships. As I'm sure Chris has told you, there's also.
Sure. The analysis that I did, I personally don't think that I and or my staff member will be needed as much as
I would.
Even in cost in year 2. The townships that we do this for, we don't go more than twice a month, and we do a majority of the accounting work. So I personally think that it will end up being 2 days a month, which obviously that would start being more savings as well. So I think overall it seems like a good idea. Obviously you're going from Denise does a wonderful job. Someone in the capacity of a CPA that specializes in municipalities as well. And then obviously the report I have with the board as well. And I'm obviously willing to communicate with you guys if you have any questions or concerns. If I can't answer them immediately, I do try my hardest to be timely with my responses.
Even on your birthday.
Yeah, even on your birthday.
Is it your birthday?
Yesterday.
Yes.
Oh, happy birthday.
I've been a little older now, so I don't,
But I am your wedding planner, right? You're happy.
I also appreciated the job description we just received, the red line from Dana.
Right.
That was an interesting read this afternoon on my way here. That was very helpful.
So, to be honest, a lot of the stuff that is done already here, it's kind of set up already for kind of me just to, do the bookkeeping duties that still do keep me independent. Now, I don't know if you guys you probably had some concern about the audit standpoint. Now, I'm still allowed to, if it was a school district falls into a different category called Belleville. Townships do allow their auditors to provide bookkeeping services, and I do have, I'll email this to the
yellow
and then make sure that the trustees receive it from the independent standards that CPAs have to follow from the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants that say, yes, your auditor can do bookkeeping services as long as he's not in a management position, right? Which I actually would be, because I have no approval capacities. Everything that I would do basically falls on the board and or people above me. So the audit still can be done by me. So it's not that, in the other townships I do bookkeeping services for, it depends. Some of the boards say, we want another set of eyes. Or they have my partner do the audit. Or they still have me do the audit, considering if my staff member would still be here, and me overseeing some things. So I mean, that's something we can talk about further down the line. I think getting the bookkeeping services portion straightened out so the township can continue to operate is more important right now, but I'm still allowed to do the bookkeeping duties as well as still perform the audit. So I think there's substantial cost savings involved, and that's why these townships are moving towards outsourcing their accounting, because it's difficult to find someone that does fund accounting. It is a different beast than regular accounting, which is FASB related, and government accounting falls in all other standards of accounting with GASB. So my firm, that's what we do. I mean, I don't do many FASB clients. 90% of my work is government related. So I don't think the transition will be as long as we think the 4 months will be. But again, that's why I just put this in there. It's more of a worst case scenario. And it wouldn't be a contract. We base it off, hey, if my guy comes in here for 7.5 hours, 7.5 hours times his billing rate, which I've reduced it. Since you guys have been good to me, I've reduced the hourly rate by $50. So typically around $250 an hour, I put it to $200, and then the staff guy reduced it to $175, which everyone at my firm is either a CPA or in the process of becoming one. But actually, it would be me overseeing all this as well. So, and that would include coming to bill pay as well, make sure someone's here for that, and address any of the questions that you guys have. I don't have a problem doing that, and if I'm caught up at the time, I'll just respond, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can.
And for that clarification and addressing the issue, if there's any conflict, I'm glad that was a question I had. You jumped right, you got
I still would be more comfortable with a different auditor. That's just me. But we can resolve that issue, maybe, right? I mean, this is not.
Yeah, man, even some of my clients, like.
Trustee Sweeney. Right,
That was my first concern.
The one township I do.
If you guys are okay with it, I mean, I just.
Did go to another
Sort of
firm,
audit
they have me write the audit report to save them costs on that side too. So there are some ways we can do this, and I do have firms that I'm close with that we can get, some prices as well. So, I mean, that's up to you guys. If you guys still want to do the audit, I mean, and realistically, all auditors, we write the audit report anyways. It's not like a regular audit where I come in and the audit report's on the desk and I get the audit. I'm auditing my own work anyways because I'm writing the financial statements. It's just how governments work. There's nobody in the capacity to write these financial statements. The auditor has to. And typically for FASB, that is not allowed. Auditors come in and their audit report's sitting there and you audit that audit report. I have to write my own audit report as well as still do the audit. So government is hairy and they allow us to do this because 9 times out of 10, there's no one in the capacity to be able to write the audit report and follow the ESG standards.
So, I know you had assured me with the, thank you, that was my first concern was,
Sure.
Conflict and,
Yeah,
had we heard of it, but, from what you had explained to me and in the specific ethics standards, it's allowable, and I think that, it makes sense to outsource. I think saving, the insurance and the pension is a big deal. I just wanted to make a couple of notations and also a comment. So the cost to us based on the high end of what you would expect, which actually I just had some thoughts and recommendations for that, would be that first year of $56,000 plus the additional $17,000. So it's really a $73,000 expense that we would incur in the first year if it was all in as proposed, versus what we would otherwise have paid if we brought somebody in.
Which is at 89.
Rate and having the benefits would be 89,000. Right. So in looking at, and I just happen to be looking at this for the raises that we had been talking about, but the market study that we had by our professional, and specifically, the reason I'm getting to this is because I think we could come back and have some possible changes per what you had said just now. But the average market rate for a bookkeeper is like $59,000, and in Chicago it's $46,770. And
that's just standard though, right?
Yes. Right. So we were significantly higher than that just in salary alone. So I don't know when you were, having that we were having difficulty, as I understand, finding somebody.
Oh.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Because, and every single person had a requirement of 60 or above.
okay. So based on this market study by the professional, the average market rate is 59,000. And we're talking about spending 73,000 at the high end.
Right, but the 59 doesn't include your IRF or your insurance, though, either.
It didn't.
No, but this was township versus private sector.
Right. But
So
just salary.
they don't have IMRF in the private sector.
Well, okay, right.
That's why
I mean, that's.
that's why it went down. What does BLS stand for? I can't recall.
What is it?
On this chart.
Bureau of Labor and Statistics.
Oh, it is, okay, so the Bureau of Labor and Statistics chart for that showed 46,770 for bookkeeper / accountant / HR support, which we're talking about all three of those. So in light of that, I should say, one of the thoughts I had, I know you want to, we want to ensure good transition and comfort in making this happen because Denise has been so great, of course, and your suggestion was to come in 3 times a month, and you are a principal.
But E3 is that one.
Till December.
Till December. So my thought was, like, if you oversaw it once a month, because that would still be 7.5 hours, and then we had the staff come in twice, that would allow us to come in at 4,124, and then times 4 months would be 17,000 instead of 23,000. And that's still giving 3 days, and that's way more than what you typically have. Plus, we have Dorothy too. So, I know we're not signing up for a specific package, even though it's labeled a package, as I understand it, but you're going to be on an hourly basis. You're just trying to guesstimate.
Yeah, that's what I was, and I think for Dana's mental.
Here's the thing, right, it's a package deal. Like, it only will work if Denise was gracious enough to do it. Like, really, that it will only work that way.
I mean, it will help tremendously, obviously. Denise
He needed a person who, right.
Because the HR side.
Right. And also the way it was, we talked with Carrie Lynn and in a big meeting. And so Denise's days would be Monday and Wednesday, so we can cut, like you saw the jobs she would do.
Right.
It has to be worth her while.
For at least the first month, I really think at least I should make sure everything's okay.
Right.
I mean, maybe the 1
He's
month,
gonna cut.
4 times, and then after that, evaluate, okay,
Right.
good to go, and then obviously then you're gonna.
But this was worst case scenario.
Right.
We put it worst case.
The board knows that, I just was putting out there, that this is how much, that would be the max, right, which still had savings versus Denise's package, and keeping her on part-time, which, I mean, that's the best of both worlds.
Right.
Yes.
And even then, so the 8 months after that and the subsequent year following
And you're
that.
getting him at a board meeting, which is.
Right.
Yeah, so are we against this?
Well, no, I'm just saying, just keep down, because the cost is 70,000 versus 46,000, so whatever we can do to minimize that, we're out of range. Now that we've got a salary study, I'm actually looking at that for future hires, right? Why would we not
Because
consider that?
there's absolutely no way you're gonna hire a bookkeeper for 46 hours.
I'm not saying we are, we're not.
So then it doesn't matter.
Right.
Are we okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to make that suggestion, so just supported that.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion to approve the following. Outsourcing this position of bookkeeping, payroll, et cetera, as detailed in the proposals previously submitted to, what's your name?
Evans, Marshall, and
Thank you. Evans, Marshall, and Pease, with the understanding that for the first 4 months, somebody once a month if once a week if necessary. And we can assess that after a month. The second part of this motion is that it would also be a motion to have Denise be hired as a part-time person. 17,000, I believe.
No, see, it's not going to be, I mean, that was thrown in.
Till the next fiscal year.
I made a point that I can't make more than 17,000 till I turn 66. But my salary will not be anywhere near that.
Right.
So.
That was high too.
That was high, that was on the very high end.
It won't be that.
It won't be that much, so I think.
So what we're voting on right now is this idea to outsource
Did I
it.
just hear her? I couldn't hear her finish, I'm sorry.
No, that was based on, what, the payrolls divided 17,000 on the payrolls, but that came out to be like $48 an hour, which is not what I'm going to be asking for, you know what I'm saying? So you've got there is more savings.
Pardon?
So it's not gonna, I mean, 17,000 was an absolute max, like what Denise was just saying, like, that's almost $50 an hour. We were just saying she can't make more than $17,000, because of her,
Well, because of I work, because I mean, for Social Security, when you're 65, you can't make more than 17,000 when you're.
Right.
So is this what?
So should we agree to an hourly rate?
Yeah, it's gonna be more like 10 or 12,000. It's not gonna be anywhere near.
There's some kind of rate we're voting on it, right?
So what would the
I'm just saying.
total?
No, what we're voting on right now is the concept.
So
And the hourly rate will be, I believe, the same as what she's making now. Which was what was the hourly rate? 35? No, you had an hourly rate.
I make $32
$32
an hour.
Right. But that's only, I mean, it's 2 days a week.
It's 2 days a week, so I mean, it's gonna be way, way less than.
Right.
And at this point, it's a transition, but it may work to be longer than that. We just have to evaluate that, right? I mean, it's at least, I know we put it down for 4 months and then the next year, but I don't know, is that, you know?
No, we absolutely will need Denise and Chris together. That's the point.
At $32 an hour for a whole year, it's nowhere $11,520 working part-time. So that $17,000 was inflated. I was trying to make it where it was.
It's worst case
It's a lot
scenario.
more.
That's fine, we know what it is.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So I mean, realistically, the first, after the first year for sure, I mean, we're looking, and that's at max.
Yeah, my fears are probably
You're
on.
gonna save $30,000 at the very minimum.
Okay, so what's the motion?
So the motion is to outsource this. It's a package deal to Chris Scalette to come in and do this with Denise as a part-time person. She will be working Monday and Wednesdays. Chris will be coming in, or his associate, on Friday. And with the jobs delineated as in your board packet and job description, that's the motion.
Can I make an amendment? Can I make an amendment that we specify that it's $200 now for Chris and $32?
Sure.
For Denise?
32, I think it's 32.36 was my hour.
Okay, 32.36. That's fine.
We vote on that amendment, I guess?
I'll just withdraw mine and that's.
Friendly
that's
amendment, you can just accept.
Friendly amendment.
Yeah.
I accept it.
Everybody's okay with it.
God, I had no idea there was such a thing.
Okay.
All right. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay.
I second it.
All right. Having a motion and a second. I think we've discussed it, right? So, Deja, can you call them?
Second,
To Kim. Okay, having a motion and a second. Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Marquez?
Yes.
Trustee Calhoun?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
Thank you for staying so long, and Denise, thank you for agreeing to come back. I do, really. You may live to regret it. And then we'll discuss the audit portion. Okay, Next is that I'm going to make a motion to, oh Lord, hang on, check it out.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Chris. Make it work. Okay. All right, I'm gonna make a motion to hire Kristen Elise Herdigan. Did I pronounce it? Yes. Dan.
Oh, for bilingual therapist, Maine State bilingual therapist.
No, I know what the position
Oh, yeah,
is.
41
As the bilingual family therapist, after Dana interviewed several people, and Kristen Herdigan is outstanding, and it would be a salary of $41,500 effective.
So Richard?
This Monday, August 5th.
Monday? Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, is there any discussion, questions? Hearing none. Daisha, can you call it?
It's a full-time position, right?
Yes.
Benefits, right?
Yes.
Supervisor Moraz?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Carapona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney?
Yes.
All right, welcome aboard. And thank you for staying so late. Really much appreciated, and we'll see you Monday.
Thank you.
Bye, Doug. Okay, next, I'm gonna make a motion to hire Ronald Birch as a part-time building monitor position to replace someone who left.
Oh, Robson.
Thank you.
Robson, yes.
Ronson left. So the salary for this,
Here's Mike.
Yes, please.
Let's finish the motion.
well, the motion is to hire Ronald Birch.
Second.
At how much?
I'm trying to find out.
10.
$10 an hour, part-time. And Mike will describe the hour. There's a second on
There's a second.
Now in the discussion, Mike will describe this, I guess.
Basically, it's about 2 days a week, about 4 hours a night. Worked for TSA, so he's got some background in doing security. We did a couple interviews, and this is who Dana and I we picked.
So that's the best part.
Yeah.
That we have an in at TS.
Yeah. Yes.
So, okay. Anybody have any questions of Mike while he's up there? Hearing none.
Which are the nights, what 2 nights? I'm just curious how that.
They basically, I'll email them at the end of a month, asking them what their availability is, so they kind of make their own schedule. It's anywhere from Monday through Thursday, and I go ahead and just kind of make it even for everybody where they all have equal days.
Okay.
We call the vote?
Yeah. Yanisha, can you call it?
Supervisor Perez?
Thank you. Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie? Yes. Trustee Carapona?
Yes.
Trustee Sweeney?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And Ronald?
Okay.
Okay. New business. Township officials of Illinois, 2019 to 20 membership. Dues for township officials of Illinois. This was an amount that I wanted to bring to the board. $1,417.59.
Is there a motion first?
Sure, I'll make a motion to to pay the dues or be? I'm sorry.
Or if you look, it's an additional $50 because we're adding Dana in as an associate member, so the total would be $1,400.
Oh, I apologize. That's what I said. Well, you said 467.59.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said 17.
No. So, yeah, it's $1,467.59. And it's for those people listed. Laura, Peter, Walter, Claire, Susan, David, Kim, and Susan.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Daisha, can you call the roll?
Sure, Supervisor West?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
No, I think we can avoid this cost. Reduce our cost by $100,000. Not sure what we're going to get value out of that.
Trustee Marquez?
This is the educational arm, right? We go to the seminar every year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Trustee Carmona?
It's also good for Maine Township to be part and parcel of this, and I do participate, and I do gain a lot from going to the meetings and the educational portion can keep us abreast, so my vote is yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is, and I sent this to you guys, or I think Rich sent it to you ahead of time, so we wouldn't have to.
Yes, thank you.
I thought that was a brilliant idea on my part.
Yes.
Tell me what works. Did we have a consensus for setting the funding hearing dates?
I can say what doesn't work for me.
Just tell me what works. I don't want to hear what doesn't.
Tuesday, October 1st works for me. October 2nd works, October 3rd, October 16th, October 28th.
Dave, what works for you? Oh, Lord, you didn't look, did you?
No, what handled was, I think it was some October stuff as I was coming through here. Anything through the 10th was fine.
All of this also takes Jewish holidays into account.
There you go. You know Diane, the dates were in Alabama to the 13th to the 20th, I think?
13th through the 20th.
Okay.
Of October.
Of October. So I think the only one I have a real problem with is going to be the 16th.
Rich, how many do we need?
3.
I know, but we had so many people last year. We only need 3?
We only need 3, but we need at least 1 to start at 6, 1 or 2 to start at 6 to fit everybody in.
All right, so how's this? How's Tuesday, October 1st?
I'm good.
Okay. Is everybody good?
Yeah.
Tuesday, October 1st. All right, good. We got one day. And we can start at 6 on that day?
Okay.
I mean, if I have to.
Well, you have to pick one day, whichever day is best to start at 6.
It's fine.
In order to not have 4 meetings, because we have so many people that, remember how long it is? Okay, so, all right, so we got one date due. Now, we don't want to do another date that week, that's for sure. Wednesday, oh wait, that was bad. Thursday, October 10th. Why are these dates? Why are they all on Thursdays, Rich? Okay, Thursday, October 10th. Does that work for everybody?
It works for me, yes.
Date,
Yes.
is it? All right,
Yes.
that's the date too.
And what time would that be?
That would be the regular
October 10th is
6:30.
not, that's the one I said no, I can't.
Okay, let's shoot for, but on the 16th, Dave's not, because that's Alabama.
28th is good.
That one's not good for me.
Okay, so Tuesday, October 29th.
No.
Going once, going
Yeah,
twice.
No, I can't do the last 3. What about Wednesday, October 2nd? I know it's 2 days in a row, but
I can do the
Those are long
second.
nights.
I
I learned from trustee McKenzie to bring McDonald's on those. I mean, I can do the second.
But that's okay.
We're gonna do back-to-backs.
No, I'm not.
Why don't we do Thursday the 3rd, at least we get a day in between.
I can do that.
I can't do that. I mean, I have parents' weekend for my daughter.
Well, if we back up, we'll get you November 7th.
Well, I guess
Oh, you
I
can't
could
do the
I
7th.
could do the 29th, that's just gonna be a problem, I have to leave it early.
You said October 10th is out?
I thought October 10th was in. I thought we
No.
had two on.
I'll make it happen October.
16th? How about October 16th?
Yes, I can.
16, I'm gone.
He's in Alabama.
Right. Okay, the 29th, I'll have to work around.
Okay, so we have October 1st and October 29th. Oh, okay, that's.
What time would the 29th then be?
That would be the normal 6:30, right? Right?
Yeah, as long as we schedule at least one at 6, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's gonna be October 1st.
Okay.
So October 29th is 6:30.
Right. We're gonna have to do Thursday, November 7th. I mean, nobody wants to do Tuesday and Wednesday, the 29th and 30th.
No, we're doing Tuesday the 29th.
Right, but that's only 2 dates. We need
Right.
3.
Right.
So we're gonna have to do Thursday, November 7th.
Or Wednesday, October 2nd.
Oh, or when, yeah. I mean, I won't. I'm not coming to
But I don't, I think,
I can do November 7th.
I don't think, trustee Sweeney,
Well, I have a commitment that day, so it's not changeable, but.
You have a commitment that night?
Yeah.
On November 7th? Well, this isn't,
So did you say you could make October 10th work or no?
I thought
said
she
she
couldn't
made Tuesday,
make
October.
October. So far, Sweeney can't make any, I mean, I think that's.
You
what
don't
we're
actually have to.
What do you mean? I gave you 6 dates I could make, 5 dates.
Right, but unfortunately,
what about November?
When I switched to the 29th, when I was
Yeah, you ate
leaving
that.
real early that morning.
Then how about November 8th, right after?
Friday?
well, Rich picked these dates for a reason, because, right?
What would be a date, Rich, after the 7th?
We can't go after this.
I didn't do any Fridays,
Okay.
No Fridays.
but much later into November it would be challenging with the.
Can we start earlier on the 7th, and I'll just wait for.
Sure. You want to move the 6 p.m. one to the 7th? That's fine with me.
There you go, well, if that works. If it really, I don't know if it's gonna help.
6, yeah, well, you can't make it 5:30, right?
Well. You want to do 5:30 on the 7th?
Let's do our view for, just keep it at 6.
Well, you guys
I
can
don't
start
think it's-
without me. I mean,
I don't think any of the people are going to be here.
Right.
I mean, the applicants.
We do occasionally get people that want an early time, who have commitments later in the evening or have kids, so I don't see that being an issue if it's okay with the board.
What, are we talking about on the 7th of November?
Is there any day of that week other than the 7th that we can do?
I'm not sure. Rich
Like the
picked these
5th?
dates.
When-
Rich, can you answer this?
One of those is Veterans Day, I'm sure.
Let me look at the calendar.
Well, yeah, you guys are going to be at Toy.
Veterans Day is on November 11th.
Right, so you'll be at Toy the following week, so you can't do that. That's why it has to end this that week.
November 5th, there's a community education event in the boardroom in the evening, so there's already an existing
Right.
conflict with that.
The 4th?
We might be able to do the 4th. I don't, it's possible that not everybody usually could attend on that day, but there's no scheduling conflict, so the 4th could be a possibility.
I could do the 4th.
I can do 4th.
that one at 6:30?
6:30. Okay, so right now, we have Tuesday, October 1st at 6, right? And then Tuesday, October 29th at 6:30. And then, did you say Tuesday, November 4th?
November 4th, Monday.
Oh, Monday. Feel like there was a reason you didn't have that much, but.
Tuesday, October 1st.
All right, so Monday, November 4th, if that's good.
Cool.
At 6:30. Right, that's
Yeah.
good for everybody? All right, so that's the motion.
Second.
Dave, should we call the roll? I don't even think we need a roll. Never mind. Take that back. We don't need to vote on this. Those are the dates.
Just a comment, these will be open meetings then and maybe.
Right, we'll have an agenda, it will be minutes and taped. Yeah, we
Public
have
comment, yes.
public comment, absolutely.
Great.
Oh, not good with you, but we'll have to have somebody from the clerk's office.
They don't work for me, so.
Yeah, that might be.
None of them?
Oh. Nobody checked with her.
Supposed to say you have a demo.
You're just one person. All right, so we're good. Next item is request to be put on the agenda by trustee McKenzie, seconded, thirded by trustee Pierrot and Sweeney. Discussion and vote on approval of Ben Dixon and Conley client retainer agreement.
I motion to approve the Ron Dixon and Conway client retainer agreement that I had sent earlier. It's just broadening the scope.
Second?
All right, I'm going to motion to amend that to be, first of all, my motion to amend is to retain, to appoint, let me take that back, to appoint Ben Dixon and Conley to represent the township in the appeal pending in circuit court. That's my amendment. Is there a second to the amendment? Ben Dixon and Conway solely to the appeal in circuit court of the case number 19, it starts with 19, it's a pending appeal where there is a conflict and the township is a defendant. That's my amendment. So now there's a
I put it
motion.
here, I apologize.
It's to appoint
Right, I put that.
Ben Dixon and Conway
Right.
to represent the township as a since there's a conflict with our regular attorney for the appeal of the IMRF issue that's pending in circuit court. This is the broadest agreement I've ever seen, and I'm the person that appoints an attorney according to the township code. I last year delegated that to you guys for purposes of the IMRF, and so that's my amendment.
Second.
Call the vote.
There's, I mean, you can call it a vote, but it doesn't end the discussion. You have to actually have.
You have to allow everybody an option or the ability to just, discuss or debate.
So
If there's
I'd
no
like
debate, you can call the vote.
Calling the vote does not end the discussion. So page 13, the supervisor with the advice and consent of the township board may appoint a township attorney. So this is one area where it's actually the supervisor. Now, you guys have to advise and consent. So there was a conflict previously, which is why we didn't use our attorney. There is no conflict in the matter pending. There is no matter pending in the IMRF board. they're determining eligibility of a person. It's not illegal, there's no legal thing pending. So I'm fine with appointing Mary Dixon to handle the township's business in the case that I said, in circuit court. But the broad, I received in a packet of emails from Ms. Dixon that it was at her request to add this. Approval of expansion of the scope of special counsel representation to include all matters pending concerning IMRF and related issues. And that's a really broad, I've never seen a broader, I can't appoint an attorney to represent us in everything related to IMRF for all time. And I think our township attorney is perfectly capable to handle whatever is needed that is pending or not pending in the IMRF administrative board. So I am not appointing Mary Dixon or Dick Von Dixon and Conway or requesting to appoint her to anything other than handling the appeal. Sure.
There is a time gap between what had been submitted and the appeal, and I don't understand if you're trying to ice her out.
I'm trying to ice her out.
We need representation between this time period. I mean, there's still IMRF administrative hearing goings on. I mean, we get letters, we have.
It's not an administrative hearing.
It is part of the administrative.
No, it's not.
It is a result of the administrative hearing.
But it isn't, there's been, as you know, there was a ruling, there was a final and appealable ruling, which was appealed.
And in between, there have been requests for more answers and data. And
Yeah, so I don't see that there's any conflict with our township attorney. Why can't they?
But we already have Von Dixon representing.
But we're paying double, okay, so here's the point, we're paying double because it's not double.
They're not.
I'm not appointing someone to handle IMRF for all time, that's in.
That's not what it says.
Yes, it is what
No,
it
it's
says.
for pending matters.
Okay. There are,
Correct the record, there's
the
no-
pending matter is in circuit court.
No, there's also a pending matter in IMRF.
Alright, so we are not going to hire, I'm not appointing an outside attorney, there's no conflict. Please articulate the conflict.
We already have Von Dixon appointed. We're just, for the appeal.
For the hearing that was concluded
Which-
on May 16th.
No, what we're trying to.
That's what her retainer, I read it into the record last time, that's exactly what the engagement was.
The request is to broaden the scope so that Von Dixon is able to deal with the results of the IMRF hearing, ruling, and all of the aftermath. It's the same case.
No, it isn't.
Why can't?
One is going forward.
Well, why didn't you tell Mary Dixon when she asked you on the phone to come here and represent?
Because she charges the township $1,000.
You are misstating what the current status is of the case.
I'm not misstating.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. The final appeal, the final ruling was made, I articulated it last board
Very
meeting.
interesting. Very interesting.
I'm happy to appoint her to represent the township in where there is a conflict. And that's what's best, in my opinion, and I think the residents would agree to, we don't need an attorney to deal with IMRF. You can use our township attorney. Feel free. There's no conflict.
I'm the IMRF agent.
But you don't get to hire your own attorney.
We already have an attorney hired. We're broadening the scope. So
No, what I'm sort of
So
saying.
you don't want us to really openly discuss. You want to cut us off every time it doesn't appeal to you what we're saying. I get it.
saying that I did a motion to amend because it is the township attorney's, we are spending, it's the legal fees for this year, because now if you had Mary Dixon forever in any IMRF related matter. Wait, it says it right here. The client now wishes to expand the scope of retention of BDC to include any and all matters involving IMRF and related issues, including but not limited to representing the client in all proceedings before the IMRF and as may at any time be pending in the courts of the state of Illinois. I can't. How can I do that? It's like the most unbelievably broad. I thought this was a great compromise. I mean, there is no, the conflict before was because our township attorney represented the board, right? And now our board is being sued. So there is still a conflict in the legal case, in the Dailies. I hope. You can call the question all you want, but we still get discussion.
No, it's 10:26, I'm just wondering if there's anything else.
I'm not making any motion.
So what does?
I mean, I'll make a motion to appoint her to represent.
You just made a motion.
Well, there was a motion to amend.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I take that, so I'm not making any.
Seconded and calling the vote for the third time.
Richard, that's not gonna.
Right.
Or we can keep talking about it, that's fine. Go ahead, keep talking about it.
Maybe I will. So I don't think that it is legal. And I don't think that it's in the best interest of the township to just keep pouring more money and more money into two attorneys that then, like, one attorney runs everything by the other attorney and we pay both attorneys for the same thing. So I don't see why Ansel Glick, our township attorney, cannot defend or answer whatever questions need to be answered for the IMRF agent in IMRF. I think they're highly qualified. You guys voted for them. So that's the end of my discussion, and yeah, be patient. We can call the vote on my motion to amend. Oh, I'm sorry, trustee Jones.
Yeah, I brought this up before. Prior to 2017, our average legal bills a year annually were $15,000.
She can say whatever she wants. Stop it.
The board.
Before,
stop it.
Prior to May of 2017, our average annual bills for legal fees total for the entire year were $15,000. They now are $165,000 a year. And this board wants to spend more money on legal fees on two attorneys for the same overlapping case. And it is ridiculous. There is absolutely no reason why we have had to spend $165,000 this past year, 1 year, on legal fees, when every other year prior to 2017, the average annual fee for the entire year for legal bills was $15,000. It's ridiculous. It's unconscionable. And then they sit here and tell you how they're interested in taxpayers and saving money. It's a disgrace. And therefore, I will not be voting to expand that contract when they call the vote.
If I may.
Trustee Carabone.
We switched firms. Trustee Sweeney knows that. The hourly rate's been increased as a result. Trustee Sweeney knows that. Also, that this is an issue about the board voted no pension for the assessor. Behind our backs, that pension was turned back on. Not by me, not by Trustee Sweeney, not by Trustee McKenzie, but it was turned back on behind our back. That's what caused the need for administrative appeal. The administrative appeal, the IMRF board, and the law decided 8-0 that we were right, and that should have never been reinstated, that the money's coming back to the township. That's now been a subject of an appeal that was filed at the last moment by the assessor. And we need to go ahead and address that. This is a situation where the cost of the fire department is being complained by the people that started the fire and burned half the house down. So every time they start a fire, we got to put that fire out. I don't want to hear the criticism of legal fees, okay? There's a lot of, in my opinion, just only one person. There's a lot of corruption here. And that corruption, there's unethical behavior, needs to be addressed. And as a board trustee, my authority was undermined as an individual, totally undermined. And that needs to be addressed by an independent firm that was already approved, that we have the authority to appoint. That firm was appointed, is very effective. It's at an hourly rate cheaper than the hourly rate we have for our regular counsel. And they're very familiar with the case. Why would we turn this over to our regular counsel? This is ridiculous, and that's what this is, ice out. We're trying to ice out, which is a great term. It's an attempt to ice out Bond Dixon from handling the entire matter, to try to narrow their ability and their scope. That's also why, in my only individual opinion, the nonsense of trying to block the payment of their invoice that's been invoiced since June also has no basis at all, and it was totally improper, but we're going to be addressing that. But it's for the best thing for the township, best for the taxpayers, and not only that, the money that we're getting back from IMRF and the accumulation that money would have had over the years before the retirement plan was tapped is very important going back to the taxpayers. Thank you.
Yeah, may I say something?
Trustee John's had her hand up before this meeting.
Okay,
You can all
so
repeat yourself.
I agree, there's corruption. We spent $36,000 that trustee Carabota demanded on sexual harassment. He is the fireman, and he is the fire. And
That's not corruption. That was a falsehood perpetrated on me.
No, it was
and damage to my reputation as a result.
$36,000.
Who also decided to go to WBEZ Radio, the local newspapers, everywhere else with this. It had to be defended. It's again to start the fire and criticize the fire.
We didn't have to spend $36,000.
Apologize for something that didn't happen.
She did not do it.
Other employees.
Didn't happen. And you cost the township $36,000 in legal fees. Because they had investigated and there was finding that there was no basis for it.
Everybody has to stop.
Really? Then stop from raising this stuff. Susan had the floor. Susan had her hand up.
Guys,
No, you did not.
So,
you're all out of order.
Laura,
Everybody.
can I finish my
You
comments?
can't, but let's
Without
keep them to
being
this.
rudely interrupted.
Yes.
Yes,
to
I'm
this.
talking about legal fees that these trustees have cost. It's all documented, Dave. You can't.
It is documented. Read the transcripts.
I don't want to go back.
Read the transcripts. Read the report. It's on file. It's online.
You demanded it. $36,000. Excuse me, I'm not finished.
Okay.
And I would appreciate not being interrupted. The point is, the legal fees are outrageous. And they never were that before. Never. And it's not in the benefit of the taxpayers. And the cost of these legal fees has already exceeded what her lifetime pension would be. So where is the cost basis benefit there? We're already in the hole.
Who did it?
I was going to say,
You
who's the
did.
actuary
You
who
did
figured
it.
that out?
You did it.
Right. Okay, you guys you can't debate amongst each other.
I mean, you
Trustee
can't
Sweeney.
let one person go.
Well, why
I
not?
did
Let that
And
go.
then not get everybody else to fend that.
Trustee Sweeney.
Well, then there's only worse
I
for
couldn't-
you three.
Oh, no.
Excuse me.
Okay.
I concur with what trustee McKenzie said.
No, it's worse than this.
Okay, guys, Jesus, God.
I concur with what trustee McKenzie said about being iced out and about the matters pending. And we've had representation from this firm. I wholeheartedly concur with everything that trustee Carabota said as well. And you can go back to the transcripts and watch the whole thing and read the whole thing, and you'll know specifically what the outcome of this is. And to continue to have this issue brought up, meeting after meeting, to try to belittle a man of his character is
Wait,
wrong.
I'm sorry,
And to
no,
say
we're
that
not
this is
gonna
legal
talk about it. I thought we were
fees. So,
gonna talk about
I'm not finished. Regarding the legal fees, there is reason behind it, and I couldn't have said it better than what Trustee Carabota said. The corruption is there. We are dealing with it. And right now, excuse me, I'm not finished.
You gave no reason. You gave
You are
no
out of
reason for 3 months in the office. Just cancel.
Stop this.
I'm trying. Will you all stop
I'm not
talking? You are all the worst board I have ever seen.
Susan has the...
No, nobody has the floor. Nobody. We're going to vote on this. Period. That's it.
You can't
That's
say that to
it.
a
No,
trustee.
that's it. Yes, I
would like
can, and I'm Joy.
Our attorney's opinion, can I be cut off?
If you've had an opportunity, the chair can end debate, or there can be a motion and debate, but as long as everybody's had an
Let's vote on the motion to end debate then, because I'm not
So you'd have
finished.
to make it, yeah.
It's not a motion. I have the floor.
You want to keep bringing
The
up?
last thing I want to mention is that the reason we're in this situation is after we won, as Trustee Carabota had just told you, 8-0, then our supervisor went ahead and reinstated pension benefits against our will and against all 3 of our prior votes and emails confirming that we did not expect that to be reinstated because the IMRF board had concurred with us. And now we're in a lawsuit against 8 IMRF, that we're being held along with 8 IMRF trustees, and we need to follow through on this in circuit court.
Yeah, I agree. Just made a motion to appoint her to circuit court.
So I think at this point, there's still the motion to amend pending.
That's what I did, okay. So, Geisha, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Perez?
Yes. On the motion to amend.
On your motion to amend?
Yeah, that's what
Yes.
we're voting on.
Trustee McKenzie?
I need clarification on the motion to amend. That doesn't change the fact that there's also another motion to
There's still a main
approve
motion pending, yeah.
the retainer agreement that was submitted.
So if this motion to amend passes, then the main motion will change to whatever has been voted on to be amended. If it fails, then that main motion is still pending before the board. So then we'll have to vote on the
Right.
main motion pending.
Trustee McKenzie?
No.
Trustee Carabota?
No.
Trustee Sweeney?
No, we should not be changing this.
I would call trustee McKenzie's motion for vote.
Second?
I don't know what her motion is.
It's to
What is
approve
the
the,
motion?
To adopt the client fee agreement that's sitting in front of us.
For what?
The Bond, Dixon, and Conway client retainer agreement that I
So
submitted.
you're gonna appoint an attorney, that's what you're
Second.
saying? Hang on, I wanna make the record perfect.
We're not appointing a new
Yes, you
attorney.
are.
No, we already have an attorney. We are,
This is appointing
We
for
are-
a different proceeding. It is not, okay,
you ask me a question, you won't let me answer.
I just want it clear what it
Trying to
is.
clear it up for you.
But maybe it should be in writing.
Well,
Because this says
are you
for
trying
all
to
time, any time be pending in the courts of the state of Illinois. So are we hiring her for the rest of the known history if it goes to the appellate court and the Supreme Court? Is that, no, I don't mean that facetiously.
She has been our attorney on this case, and it makes sense that we would appoint her for the entire case. We can always terminate her services if it goes to
Okay,
the
so-
Supreme Court and you want to terminate her services and we vote on that.
Well, as far as I read the statute, the supervisor appoints the attorney, and I'm not doing it, but you can vote on
The
it.
supervisor may appoint the township attorney, but the supervisor doesn't need to appoint a special IMRF attorney that we already have.
No.
We are just
Person is
changing
only
her retainer.
appointed as a special attorney because there was a conflict. Go back, look at the minutes, and it was because there was a conflict.
It's the same case, Laura, I don't know what.
No, it's, okay. The record is perfectly clear. The matter pending in IMRF is going forward. The matter pending in circuit court is an appeal of the period of time of a person's benefits that they won. And the person, as Mary Dixon said, had a right to appeal. The person availed themselves of that right, and we are a defendant in that suit. That's what I'm talking about. That suit. And so.
There's a motion and a second. I'd call the vote.
Call the vote on the vote.
Supervisor Moss?
No, and I don't think there's any authority for them to do it.
Trustee Jones?
No, and there's no authority for them to do it.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes, and I believe we have authority. We already have our Bond, Dixon, and Conway attorney in place with a retainer agreement approved. All we're doing is revising the retainer.
Oh, why do we need to revise it?
Continue.
Trustee Baraboda?
Yes, adopting the legal opinion, or the legal analysis as presented by Trustee McKenzie.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
I mean, the one that was suggested by the attorney. No, she sent an email asking that her scope be expanded. She solicited this. Let's be clear.
This came up in our last meeting.
And I also object to that.
Yeah, but it's what came up in our last meeting. We brought it up. We brought it up. In fact, you brought it up. So.
Yeah, I asked her the correspondence because, hang on a minute. Your guys' big objection was that I never gave correspondence. Now, we don't get any correspondence from our IMRFA.
I think the vote's done.
No,
At 18 minutes to 11 for
I
the
don't
record,
care
the
what time
vote
it
is
is.
done.
You have caused it to be this long. So, I think we took that vote.
He called
called
the
the
vote
vote.
immediately.
I called it.
He called the vote immediately, Laura. You refused to. For
So now we can go back to the next item, which,
paying the bill.
paying the bill, which I am still opposed to. I still have my objection to, and based on my prior amendment. So I think one of you needs to make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the bill payment, sorry. Payroll for pay dates of June 28th, 2019, and July 12th, 2019, and July 26th, 2019, in general town fund checks, number 56971 through check number 57043, in the amount of $365,977.25.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, the issue can be called roll.
Supervisor Perez?
No.
Trustee Jones?
No.
Trustee McKenzie?
Yes.
Trustee Baraboda?
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Yes.
Okay, so next we have on the agenda officials reports. Trustee Sweeney.
I'm going to make my report.
Trustee Carabota.
Enjoyed participating in the parade for representing Maine Township, both in Niles and in Des Plaines for the 4th of July. I really appreciated also Trustee Sweeney participating, Trustee McKenzie participating, and Mr. McKenzie participating both in person and with a very lovely Cadillac automobile that we were able to utilize at no cost to the taxpayers for Des Plaines. And it's, I want to thank everyone who stayed so long for this meeting and who maintains interest. Oh, yes, I left out Taste of Park Ridge, working the beer tent, and I appreciated those who did so much work from our staff here. They were just really hustling and bustling. It was a very busy beer tent. I did it for 2 nights, and I enjoyed also working with Trustee Sweeney in that regard. Thank you.
Trustee McKenzie.
Just want to second what Dave said about the 4th of July parade. It was very fun. It was a beautiful day, and glad I got to participate.
Trustee Jones?
I also participated and volunteered in the beer tent for Taste of Parkridge and called bingo. And I'm looking forward to National Night Out on Tuesday. It's a premier event, as Supervisor Morass said. And I want to really give a shout out to the Extreme Moms of Parkridge who started a campaign. We had an opportunity to purchase these t-shirts, and all of the profits went to the Maine Township Food Pantry. So there was a check given to us, a generous donation of $400. So thank you very much, Extreme Moms of Parkridge. We really appreciate it. It's wonderful to see you guys mobilizing your resources to help feed the less fortunate folks in our township. And look forward to seeing everybody on Tuesday at National Night Out.
Assessor Monahan.
Or should I talk from here?
No, from the podium.
Oh, okay.
Please.
I'd like to make a couple comments. I know Trustee Sweeney had mentioned that she's trying to do the difference between how much money we're spending for insurance and the cost effect of different hires and people leaving the township. She said she wanted to put it like around $34,000. Well, I'm not taking the insurance, so that puts us up another 20, so I think we're even over that 41,000 to give the township employees that raise benefit. Another thing I have to make comment, I'm sorry Donna Adams is not here. What disturbed me was that she said that if everybody does appeals, then it's not fair to everyone else because that makes their taxes go up. Well, I don't think people realize that the Cook County Assessor does mass appraisal. They don't go to every house. They do a by sales comparison. If you live in an area, and Ms. Adams would know this, in the villas, where every house is basically the same. It's on a slab, 3-bedroom, bath, and someone next door, they're paying $2,000 more a year in taxes. Is that fair? You should be paying what everybody else is. Okay, how about a guy who lives in Park Ridge, or Glenview, or Niles, that they have a ranch home, and the guy next door to him has this 2-story that he built an addition on, and he's paying the same taxes as the guy in the ranch home. Is that really fair? I don't think so. How about, Park Ridge, how about when you're in the fly zone, and you can actually see the bottom of the plane over your house, can't talk, you've been trying to sell your house for a friggin' year, you've had to lower it, but they compare you to people in Country Club and their prices on their home. So is that fair? So, you know, there's a lot of discrepancies, and because Cook County is so big and they're not assessed appropriately, that's why the assessor's office is here. We find comparables for them, we help them write letters to the assessor's office, we get information compiled for them, and you cannot tell me that if you go to appeal that, oh my God, my taxes are going up because they're appealing. Well, they're appealing because it's not fair. And it's all about being fair. So I really have a discrepancy with what she said, and if you truly believe that, you're off the wall, I'm sorry. So that's what I have to say, and please remember that $20,000 for the employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Assessor Monahan. Okay, so we're clear that it was a great event. No, you already made your report. No, you already made your report.
I have the right to.
No, you don't. We're
Attorney
officials' reports.
No, I have the right to make a comment. My comment is purely objective. as far as what...
You're not...
No, I have to correct something. I am a trustee, I have the right to the floor to
No,
make
you
a comment.
don't.
The
You actually
assessor's
don't.
office actually increased from 321,000
Just really quick.
18 to 336, so it was an increase of 15,000.
Can we
Decrease.
stop?
So what was spent was actually an increase of 15,000. That's for the audit, that's a fact.
So let the record reflect, trustee Sweeney just keeps talking.
Because I have the right to.
No, I'd like to make my report, but you know
Attorney, can
what?
you please give an opinion
We're
on
not-
this?
You have the right
just
to,
did.
you have the right to speak when there's a motion pending,
Right.
but not at all times during the meeting, unfortunately.
When there's a motion pending?
Yes, when you have the right to
So,
speak on everything before the
did you not
board,
say
but
earlier, maybe I misunderstood you, that when somebody's up, you know, and has the floor?
during public comment.
That I can,
We're not
only
in
during
public
public comment?
Public comment's separate from what's actually happening at the board during the regular board meeting. Public comment has different rules. That's, again, like I said earlier, that's like a soapbox out in the, park.
When
Everybody has the right to
when
speak.
there's an incorrect statement given during, you know, I feel that as a trustee and a fiduciary, it's my job to correct.
You have to be recognized by the chair unless there's a motion pending. You obviously have the right to speak on every motion, but outside
So
of
she
that,
has
it's
the
at
right to
discretion of the
deny
chair.
recognizing me, is that what you're saying?
Unless there's something pending before that you're going to take a vote on. If it's just at any point in the board meeting, she gets to decide when people talk. If there's not a motion.
Okay.
What this wasn't commentary?
No,
It was-
I'm in the middle of a board report.
Actually,
I'm asking the question.
we have separate times for public comments at each meeting. So if you want to speak during public comment, absolutely, she can't prevent you from doing that. You have the right as citizens, not even just as trustees, to go up there and speak during public comment at all times, at every meeting if you'd like.
Okay, just for clarification, you said just when there's a motion pending, but my understanding is even during new business, you can ask to bring up something new that's not on the agenda.
If it's,
It's
yeah, again,
not
we're not in new business right now, that's the issue. There's nothing on the agenda right now that would open it up to board action. So there's really, she has the right to control how the meeting, the chair always has the right to control how the meeting runs, like in between votes and everything like that, and who she recognizes to talk. There's nothing on the
Okay,
agenda.
so if it was under new business, it would be different.
Potentially, yeah, depending on what that is.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So, as I was saying, the Taste of Parkridge was a fabulous event. I worked the booth, it was wonderful, and I really want to thank our employees who volunteered, and our elected officials as well, and it was incredibly busy from 5 to 7, which is hard to believe. It was one of the hottest days of the year, it was great. Okay, that's it, I'm not going to keep anybody here.
That I forgot to add in my report.
I don't, hang on a second. I'm trying to find my agenda. Make sure I put everything. Because if I open yours, then I'm gonna be opening everybody else's. No, we're done. I'm sorry. We have to go. Administrator is not going to happen, right?
Got it.
Okay.
Now, verbal?
And we have, no.
Oh, we have, what we have here.
My written,
We
yeah.
have the written, which was very thorough.
Yeah.
And we have no closed session. I'm gonna motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So,
Rich, I just want to compliment you on 2 intergovernmental projects and initiatives that you did in your report, and I want to thank you. You said either common sense approaches, the one with the school, the Stevenson School, and the one with the District 207 intern. It was great, that was great. And I just want to compliment you, thank you so much.